3, 2, 1. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. Today is Saturday. It is October 17th. It is approximately 1:35 in the p.m. on a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in El Paso, Texas. Guys, as always, co-host of the podcast, Misa is here with me. Misa, go ahead and say what's up.
Yo, what it do?
Back for a second round of producing. Joe Memes is here. Joe, say what's up to the pod, dude.
How you guys doing today?
Hopefully not the last, dude.
Yeah, there you go, Joe. Your mic sounds a lot better today.
There it does.
Dude.
It does.
There you go. Wow, I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, good job,
Also,
Joe.
guys, for episode 47 of Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast, we have a very special guest. His name is Brandon Coates. Brandon Coates, say what's up to the podcast, man.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hey,
Brandon,
there we
Brandon.
go.
How are we all doing?
We're doing good.
Welcome,
We're doing
man.
good. We're
Thank
doing
you.
a lot better that now that you're here with us, man. And thank you for being on the podcast. Number
Of course,
one.
man.
Thank you so much.
We reached out to Misa. Reached out to you on Facebook Messenger, right?
Yep. I just shot my shot, man.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. 2020, shooting our shot.
Hey, go for it, man.
Trying to talk to as many people as we can on this podcast. So, guys, number one, thank you for being on here, Joe. Thank you for producing us today. Misa, thank you for coming back. This is back-to-back podcasts, you know? We've done that before. So, in order to get this podcast started, there's a tradition that we have to abide by. And it goes something like this. We have to crack open our celebratory beer. So, with that being said, guys, let me indulge.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers to everybody. Brandon's not drinking anything, but
No, I got to go to work after this.
okay. If you need water, if you need anything to drink that's not alcoholic, we got you. We do have some stuff
All right,
for
you
you.
do?
So, surprisingly, yes.
I didn't know that.
So, let's get into this podcast, guys. We got a lot to talk about. If you guys do not know who Mr. Brandon Coates is, go ahead, Brandon. Tell the audience, a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I'm the producer of the Buzz Adams Morning Show. I've been doing it for about 5 years now, and love doing the morning show. The hours are definitely take some getting used to, and then I also do a podcast with Shim Moore, the former lead singer of Sick Puppies. It's called
nice.
Rockstar 101.
Rockstar 101.
And we've been doing that for about almost 2 years now.
Nice.
He and I have been doing that. So
Fellow podcaster on the
Yeah.
pod
Pod.
today. Wow,
Yes.
I think that's a first for us, right? I don't think we've had anyone on here that's had a podcast
No.
besides
No.
Paticus, actually.
Besides Paticus.
Okay, that's what's up, man. How did you develop like this love for like podcasting and like being on radio? Like, where did that come from?
I mean, if you want to go all the way back to when I was a kid, I mean, music's always been major in my life. Like when I was a kid,
Right.
Queen was the band. And it was like Another One Bites the Dust. And I was maybe 2-3 years old, and I knew how to put the cassette in, and I was rocking out. And ever since then, music has always played a major role in my life. But when I never thought I would ever do anything with it.
Like be in a band or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not really musically talented. I mean, I own a guitar, but I never play it, so it's just sitting there. But when going through high school, they're pushing you like, hey, what sort of direction do you want to go in? I never knew what I wanted to do. So I graduated high school. I went to community college taking just generic courses. Ended up working at a lumberyard.
Nice.
And we listened to the radio all the time. So all of a sudden I'm saying to myself, I could do that.
I could do that shit.
I can do that.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't make it. There was a college that had a radio broadcasting school. So I went and I applied, I got in, and I graduated with 2003, I think. It's an associate's. And then I've never looked back. I mean, there's even been times where I didn't want to do radio anymore. I just got burnt out of it. When I got let go in Florida back in 2012, and I was done. I moved back to Portland. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So you grew up in Portland, right? Because eventually you moved to Florida, but you're originally from Portland.
Born and raised in Portland.
Blazer fan.
Blazer fan.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, real fast. Who's your favorite trailblazer
Of all time?
of all time?
Oh, man.
Brandon Roy?
God, that guy with his poor knees. Jeez. I feel like,
Dude, Brandon
that
Roy
team,
was the
that
shit in
team
2K.
was destined for
Yeah.
greatness when
Yeah.
you had Brandon Roy, you had LaMarcus Aldridge, and then Greg Oden. If his knees weren't made of brittle, then they would have been great.
Dude, they took
Dude,
Greg.
I forgot about Brandon.
Dude, they took
Roy,
Greg.
Yeah.
Did you guys take Greg
Greg Oden over
Kevin
Durant. went.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys messed up. You guys should have taken KD.
Well, we also took Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan back in '84. so there's that.
Same mistake.
They got the track record, bro.
Well, and the interesting thing is too, a lot of people forget the Blazers. So the number one pick that year was Akeem Olajuwon, and the reason Portland didn't have the number one pick was a coin flip. They didn't have the lottery back then. It was a coin flip. So the Blazers, the reason they didn't go with Jordan was they had just drafted Clyde Drexler. I think he would probably be my top Blazer of all time. Although Blazer. Damian Lillard's
he's ascending.
Oh
fast.
Man, big time. But they needed a center. They didn't want to draft somebody who was almost identical to Drexler, so that's why they went with Sam Bowie. No, so they went with Bowie at number 2, and then the Bulls got Jordan at number 3, and then the rest is history.
So growing up in
Very sad history.
in Portland, like obviously it's way different from. I grew up here, Misa grew up here, Joe grew up here. El Paso's kind of like our little bubble. We didn't really get to experience.
Never left El Paso.
Yeah, really. Well, besides San Antonio, but I mean, it's really not the same.
The farthest I've gone.
Can you give us what it's like to kind of grow up in the Pacific Northwest?
It's changed dramatically because I grew up there. I lived there till I was 24. I moved away to Florida. I went back in 2013 for a couple of years, and it's changed dramatically. I remember growing up. Do you ever have those moments when you're watching a TV show or a movie and they mention El Paso and you're like, that's El Paso. Like we used to get that. We used to get that when it was Portland. It was like, oh, that's so cool. They mentioned Portland. Now when they do it, it's usually something bad. Well, I'm like, oh, why are you saying that?
In the recent wake of what's happening, Portland's been the center focus of everything that's going on with the country right now.
But, and it was Portlandia came out, and there's way too much truth about that show of how it's really morphed into this it's a different place than where I grew up,
Okay, so
what's the population?
It's about 2.3 million, I think, 2.4.
Yeah, it's like a good double the size of El Paso.
Yeah.
We used to when I first got into radio broadcasting school, you would look at all of the different size markets. You have New York, then L.A., and then I think it might be Houston, Galveston.
I think Houston is the third one.
So Portland, I think, was number 24. And every time the new rating books would come out, you'd see the population change, and you'd see it increasing. And we're like, we're going to beat Pittsburgh. We're going to topple Pittsburgh. Yeah, fuck you, Pittsburgh.
Fuck the Steelers.
But yeah, so it's vastly different. And I never realized how cold it was until I moved to Florida and then to El Paso. And the weather, I don't remember it being so goddamn icy.
Okay.
When I moved back, that was a concern everywhere you're driving. Because when I went to broadcasting school, the college was probably 45 minutes to an hour away from my house. So it was a beefy drive, and it was way out there where it gets super cold. And it still wasn't even as cold as it was when I was back. The weather has changed. Yeah. A lot of it has changed, basically.
Yeah, everything from the culture to the weather. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's been how long since you last were living in Portland?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, okay. I was there 2013 to 2015, right before I moved to El Paso.
Okay, nice. And then you said you spent some time in Florida. Where in Florida were you?
Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, nice. My sister lived in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah?
She actually moved north, and she lives in, I think it's Lake Worth, Florida. Mm-hmm. And it's north of Fort Lauderdale. She didn't like all the hustle and bustle, she kind of got a little annoyed with how many people there are down there. But I was like, well, you moved to Florida,
Well, and everybody's angry down there too, man. There's something about humidity; it just makes people pissed off.
Oh, dude,
all the time.
It's pissing me off, dude.
It's so I when I first moved there in 2005, and I moved to a little city called Pembroke Pines it's outside of Fort Lauderdale. I lived there for about a year, and then I moved to another place called Plantation, which was maybe 10 minutes from the beach. I never went to the beach. No. I'm and now that I'm like, God, I wish I should have taken advantage of going to the beach. But yeah, it's people are pissed off down there. The drivers suck.
Yeah,
because you take people who don't live there, because you got a lot of tourists down there. A bunch of old people who are retiring down there, and then people who don't speak English, whether they're from another country or they just don't speak. That's not their first language.
Worse,
and you put them all onto the roads at one time, and it's mass chaos.
It's worse than El Paso, dude.
Well,
is it?
It's close.
I would say.
I mean, The one
It's the
thing
New
about
Mexico
the one
drivers,
thing
too.
about El Paso that blew my mind is that people do not care.
Nope.
When it comes to pulling out of a parking lot.
They don't give a fuck, dude.
Like I'm cruising down Mesa and there's somebody leaving the area where Asylum Comics is at,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, they're
gonna wait
not
for
going to
me.
go.
Yeah,
They're going to wait
for me to pass. Nope.
No,
They don't care.
They're like, oh, go. So here, let me lock up my brakes and go around you so I don't hit you.
I mean, all you hear is "good luck," and then he just drives out the parking lot.
I mean, every place has kind of their own negatives when it comes to driving. Like Florida's got theirs, like Portland's got theirs. It's almost people are too nice in Portland because you get stuck behind that dickhead who's at the stop sign,
Letting
and
everybody
you're like,
through.
"Yo, go ahead." I'm like, "Dude."
Dude,
You're like,
I
honking
hate
your
those
horn, and
people,
he's like,
but
"I'm
I
trying to be
forget.
nice." God. Come on, man.
He's like, bro, don't you realize we're supposed to take turns? Like, you're just waving them through.
Yeah, man.
Well, there's this one area of Portland where, because Portland's split by a river. You've got a river that runs north-south, and that kind of splits the city in half. And so you have to cross the bridges, obviously, I worked downtown, which is on the west side, lived on the east side. So there's this one bridge, and it's congested beyond belief during rush hour. But this one place would always sort of function because people knew it was one for one when it came to merging. I pull up, this car goes, then I go, then this car goes, and it's that zipper method where it's just one for one. And then there's this one dude that I got stuck behind, and I'm like, and he had plates from out of state, and I'm like, you don't know this, don't let him in. Like, we're gonna be here for hours, man.
Yeah, dude, you gotta, like, it's funny how you could identify him just by the plates of the car. You're like, God damn, this
Yeah, I'm
is
gonna
That
stuck
person's
behind
like,
this
if
boy.
I
Be a
let that
problem.
person go, if I let that person go, I have to let him go too.
dude.
Yeah,
And,
it's
I
like-
feel bad if I don't let that guy go. You know
It
what?
got to the
Keep
point
going.
where I was like, you know what, if I just tap him, like if I just ease up, and I'm like, I'll just bumper a little
He'll
bit.
get it. He'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, shit.
I gotta go.
Go, dude.
And before coming to El Paso, had you been here before?
I visited in 2012.
2012.
Yeah, so when I was in Florida, the reason I'm in El Paso is my boss, Kevin Vargas. He hired me in Florida, and when 05, they put the rock station on. It was called 93 Rock, and that was a ton of fun because it was a brand new station. We were kind of, it was fun. Like it was a pretty fun environment.
Like, they let you guys do your thing, right?
kind of
in a way.
But then by the end of it, it was very controlled, and it was like, you guys got to do, and it's like, okay,
real
this-
structured
This
at
now
the end.
sucks. Yeah. So in 2010, that flipped, and it went from, I want to say it was in November sometime, and it flipped from rock to Christmas music. So we
Wow.
did Christmas through the holiday season, and then it flipped to an easy listening station after that. And I knew it was different because I was the production director down there, and I knew what changed was when I went from doing commercials for erectile dysfunction to commercials for menopause. Like that's when you
Yeah,
knew.
the target
like,
audience fucking switched up.
yeah,
huge
that's
right there,
that's
yeah.
when you knew. That's when you knew. That
Changed.
it
But I mean,
definitely
did that
changed there.
work? Did that work for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, I would think it'd be a hard thing if you think about it. You have like a group of people listening to it for a certain genre, and then it comes a season where they just stop, and it's just like another.
That's radio, dude.
What's
it
even
happens
listening?
all the time.
What's even easy listening? What is that?
Like Coldplay.
Nah, yeah, I think,
That's too easy.
Coldplay feels.
It's just
Yeah.
it's that stuff that you're going to hear in like a department store.
yeah, like you're shopping at a Dillard's.
elevator music.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's you hear a lot of like soft R&B
Yeah.
stuff
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Or like some soft, like maybe like a soft like Kelly Clarkson song. Or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Stuff
know
you
what
listen to. Okay.
Yeah, I got that shit on my Apple Music for sure, dude.
And so he got let go in 2010 when the station flipped. They moved him to Houston. I got to keep my job since I was the production director. They were like, "Oh, well, just make commercials for this station." I was like, "All right, fine." So he got the boot, and then in Houston, he only lasted like 9 months, and then they flipped that station really quick. Like they clearly had other plans, but he got this amazing package, like a severance package, where he could just kind of sit and decide what he wanted to do. And the El Paso job came up for him, so he ended up moving here because before Florida, he lived in San Antonio, and he and his wife are Texas.
Yeah.
They love being like Texans,
Like
love it.
Texas through and through.
best country in America.
Absolutely, man. And so he had moved here, and then I got laid off in 2012. Somebody from our building called him, and they were like, "Hey, Brandon just got let go." He called me. I wasn't even home yet, and he was like, "Hey, would you ever think about moving to El Paso?"
Damn, just
and I'm
like
like,
Damn.
"Sure." So, I mean, I'm in my car, and all of my stuff from my office is in there. Like, I just got the most like devastating news, and I was like, sure, I guess. Yeah. So, we went.
You
and
look
I visited.
Back like, I ain't got nothing else to do. Yeah, I'll take it.
He's like, where's El Paso?
Yeah, it was. At this time I didn't even know. It's right on the furthest west city, and I just knew it was El Paso, Texas, and didn't realize where it was. So I flew out here in 2012. It was actually October too. Because the first time I ever met Buzz, he was dressed up as a Sasquatch for the haunted house.
That'd be like the perfect way to meet Buzz.
That's like a hell of a first impression.
Yeah. So that was the first time I ever met him, and then I went and had lunch with him the next day. But that was 2012, and then the job never even really came to fruition until 2015 or so. Because he'd offered me a couple of other jobs, like they had their production director leave here. And I declined that job. I was like, I don't want to. Yeah. You have to deal with like the salespeople, and look, we have a great sales staff where I'm at now, but I don't want to be the production director. Yeah. Like Duke does that stuff, and Duke's got a lot more patience than I do.
You're like, I'm not. That's not for me, bro.
Yeah. So I turned that down.
So when you meet Buzz Adams and he takes you to lunch, where does he take you?
We went to Carino's.
Hey, Johnny Carino's,
because it was free.
Because it was constant.
That's the thing. That's the thing. We always have, because there's certain clients that we deal with a lot. It's usually Carino's or Mesa Street Grill, or
Mesa Street Grill.
There's certain places that they go, and that just happened to be where we went.
Buzz is like, hey, this one's on me, man.
This one's on me, man. On the station.
I got you.
He's like, we're gonna have a nice little Italian lunch, dude, and then we'll get this shit going.
No, it was our other boss, Brad. He was the one that
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that lunch meeting was with Kevin, Brad, and Buzz that day.
So like your first impressions, like once you actually moved to El Paso and started working at the stations, like what was your how did you feel the vibe of the city? Like, was it different from anywhere else that you've been?
It felt a lot more like a family community. And apparently that's because everybody here is related anyway.
You're talking to the right guy here.
Everyone on the west side is I'm dating his cousin.
He's dating my cousin.
And
we're not making that shit up.
And then my girlfriend and his cousin are dated. They're related to married to my best friend who owns this house. So we're just everyone on the west side in El Paso related to Chris.
Yeah, it's a web, and I'm like at the center of it. You know what I mean? It just builds out on its own. You know what I mean?
When I meet somebody, the first thing I do is I ask them, "Are you related to Chris Marcus?"
That way,
90% of the time, it's like, "Yeah, that's my cousin."
That's my cousin. Okay.
Yeah, you see, it's interesting that he said that he brought it up. That like right away, you feel like. I mean, I'm sure you feel like a community vibe, like in most places, but like a family type of vibe, that's like different. And I feel like that's unique to El Paso. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's a good city because it's big enough that it gets a lot of big stuff here.
Yep.
Like, I mean, hell, we had Metallica here a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So we get like the big shows. We have the Plaza Theater where we get Broadway shows and things like that. But it's not overwhelmingly big city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we had the crappy traffic for a while there, when they were doing the whole I-10 project.
Yeah, but you're not going to go dump a fucking NFL football team in El Paso. Like, it's probably not going to work out.
When you got to that Juarez right here and how dangerous it is.
I still think an XFL team would do fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think an XFL team would do fine. Or I feel like if I feel like if UTEP was just better, like when UTEP was good, this was like heyday back in like 2004, 2005. Mm-hmm. Like the fucking Sun Bowl was rocking, dude. You know what I me So
That's
when you go watch those old
need.
games and you actually see the Sun Bowl filled with people, like when you find that old video of that dude getting an HJ.
Yeah, hell yes, dude. During the Texas game, there's a guy getting a fucking hand job on the mountain.
I didn't know about this.
And they showed it on ESPN, dude. Dude, ESPN was covering the game, right? And then they do like when they come back or when they go to break, I forget. Yeah, and they do they cut to an aerial view of the fucking mountain, and then they zoom in on the couple.
The chick's got her hand like in his pants.
Straight in his pants, bro.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, looks like they're having a good time tonight. And back to the game.
Yeah, and the announcer's just got to play it off like nothing happened, man.
That's got to be so hard to be like live on air, like doing that, and then you see this, and you're kind of like, you have to be reserved, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just move by it, man. Move past it.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't even know if
I even did a whole article on our website for it.
Oh, man.
Oh, they took it all down?
Dude, I think they took... The video for sure, I don't think is up anymore. I haven't seen it surfacing.
Let's see.
That shit's hilarious, man. I'm glad you remember that. But yeah, I think like as long as the team is winning in El Paso, I think because like the Chihuahuas and the Locomotives, they draw good crowds because they're competitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Locomotive got a playoff game today.
Yeah, it's the final actually. They're like in the championship game today.
Tried to get tickets, could get tickets.
Yeah, it's hard. And are they still hosting it, even though, or letting fans there?
Yeah, they're exempt. Them and UTEP were exempt, but then UTEP's game today got canceled or postponed because Southern Miss had players that were testing positive for COVID.
There it is.
And there you go. You see? So, yeah, dude, it's crazy. So,
I guess you don't get the COVID if you go to those games.
Well, we spoke to the mayor yesterday, and he was talking about how that's out of kind of their jurisdiction since that came from the governor.
Okay.
He can't overrule that. Now, he can control the high school games and stuff like that.
Like any local entity.
Exactly.
Okay.
But when it came to UTEP and the Locomotive games, he's
out of his private? Is it because it's private?
At the same time, it looks bad when you're giving restrictions now, like after 9 and all this stuff. And then, but if you're going to a UTEP game and Locomotives, you're fine.
Yeah, it's just... It's a weird situation. And you're kind of in a lose-lose situation.
You're going to lose regardless, dude.
Because if you look at the COVID numbers, El Paso, we're like leading the country.
Yeah. Dude, if there was
like
a college football rankings for like the worst fucking team like that like just spreads COVID everywhere, like El Paso, like we're number 1, bro. Like, we're doing a good job at it. Like, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous, dude.
Well, I don't even know why I'm saying all this. I stay home every day, so.
See, that's the thing. I love staying home. My wife hates it, though. Oh, she hates it.
She's like, can we go, like,
she's
have
got
a nice dinner or some shit?
She has to get out of the house. They get stir. Her and my daughter, they get stir crazy. They can't. They get cabin fever. The kid starts acting up just because she's cooped up.
Yeah,
like, she's like, I gotta get out of this house, man.
Yeah, she's like, she has like pent up frustration. Like she's like, there's nothing to do here. Like,
go to the backyard.
You know what I mean? Yeah, go to pull some weeds.
I had to do that. Yeah, yeah. We have half of our yard is the artificial grass, and the other half's gravel. So when the dogs are back there, they'll kick the gravel into the grass. So I was like, go pick up the gravel. And she did.
Yeah, she's like, hell yeah.
One by one.
Give me something to do, man.
So tell us a little bit about like working on the Buzz Adams show. Obviously, that show has been around for so fucking long.
Since I can remember. Since
I was a little kid, my dad loves fucking KLEQ. He would listen to that shit out in the anytime we were in the car, the fucking KLEQ was on. If not, fucking Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers was on. So I was down with either.
Yep.
But I just remember that show was always on, especially in the morning, getting dropped off at school, dude. I remember.
That's why I remember it too. But for me, like once I got older, when I actually started listening was. I've always listened since you were there. I didn't know that you had only been there for 5 years. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was like 4 years ago when I actually started listening every morning.
Well, it was one of the reasons I moved here. I had a couple different job offers. I was only working part-time in Portland, and I just needed something, and there was no full-time work in Portland. And when I first moved back, that's one of the times I wanted out of radio. I was tired of it. I didn't want to do it anymore. I had some bad experiences with it. But then I couldn't find a regular job in Portland, so I had to take a radio job, and I met some really cool people there. And some just really genuine, nice, good people. So they kind of rejuvenated that. So then I started to look for jobs elsewhere, and this was one of the ones that was offered to me. And when you look at the ratings and stuff, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like from Buzz through the whole day, KLAQ is number one.
Yep.
And so I'm telling myself, why would I not take advantage of that? They'd been talking about doing syndication for a while now. And they were going to bring me in to kind of run that because they were moving Mondo over to sports. So I took advantage of that, and that's what kind of helped me make that decision to come here. Plus, working for Kevin's great. Yeah. I mean, I love working for that guy. So when I first moved here, we weren't on the other markets. It was just El Paso, and then I think I moved here in August of 2015, and then by October was when we kicked the network off. So we were in Midland, Abilene, and San Angelo as well. Midland is no more. They took us off of that station.
They took you guys off there.
Yeah, they took us off. They put on this other show that apparently isn't doing too well. So
they're lost. They're lost.
Yeah. So one thing that I found interesting about what you said is how the radio station in Portland kind of rejuvenated your love for radio, right? So do you owe?
It was a country station.
I love country music, dude.
Hey,
Country
good.
music's the shit. Maybe that's why.
And here's real quick. Here's one thing that El Paso really needs to learn to embrace is the fact that rock stations are leaving everywhere. That's what happened in Florida. We flipped it in 2005. It was gone in 2010. In Portland, there was a heritage rock station called KUFO. That flipped in like 2008, 2009. It had been around for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
and it was gone. So imagine KLAQ going away.
It's that whole
But
genre.
that was the thing is that El Paso embraces KLAQ. El Paso's a rock town.
Rock town, yeah,
I mean,
for
it's
sure.
a major selling point for me.
So do you owe a lot to that station for like helping you get to this point? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Like, okay, that's what I was
Absolutely.
thinking. I feel like in that moment when you are able to realize like, hey, this is like very important because it rejuvenated something that now has brought me like to, now you're doing this show with Buzz Adams, and like I'm sure at that moment you were like, I don't even know if I should be doing radio anymore, and now look where you are.
Well, I'd already started to move on. When I was in Florida, after I got laid off, I went back to school for a degree in computer science.
Okay.
And I lasted maybe 2 terms and like $20,000 later in student loans. And I was like, I can't afford this.
Yeah.
I worked they had a radio station on campus. I worked there.
Campus radio?
Yeah, it made garbage money.
Yeah.
It was very poorly run, which was one of the deciding factors of me. Like if it was better run, I probably could have stuck it out, but I couldn't do it. I need to be around people that are allowed to be creative, but people are also willing to do their job. And unfortunately, it looked like that wasn't really what was happening there at that time. And there was a reason why they did it, and I get it. It wasn't a good fit for me. A good fit for other people, just not me. So I left, and when I got back to Portland, I was applying at Columbia Sportswear and things like that, and I'm not getting any calls back. And I was like, God.
Damn,
so there was
that's
this guy
crazy.
that I went to college with for radio, and he reached out to me. He was working at this country station in Portland, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for weekend part-timers. Do you want to come work for us?" So I said, sure, and I did, and then that's how I ended up there. And I met some of the 2 names specifically, Jake Byron and Danny Dwyer. Those guys were awesome, like the most genuine, give you the shirt off your back kind of guys. Like they're just amazing, amazing human beings, and that really kind of got the creative juices going, because I started at weekends on the Bull. I ended up becoming a production assistant, helping him with commercials, having to put in those goddamn O'Reilly commercials all the time.
O'Reilly.
Yeah.
O'Reilly's.
I got it. Auto parts.
There you go.
And you put like 15 of those things in, and it's always right at the end, so you have to put what's called a seg tone on the end to fire off the next element.
Right.
And so that's all you hear for each one of those is the O'Reillys. And it's like, God,
Dude, yeah. After a while, you're like, fuck O'Reilly.
I'm going to AutoZone.
On the way home,
You're flipping them off.
yeah,
as
he's
they're
like on the
driving.
way home, he passes one, he's like, fuck you, fucker.
leaning out the window. Like, go fuck yourself.
They're like, what's wrong with that?
Your jingle sucks. And then I did that, and then I went worked with the news station for a little bit, and that's the most nervous I've ever been on the air.
On a news station?
Yeah, it was. I was doing the overnight shift, and it was one of those shifts where that station's got 24 hours. Somebody's in there doing stuff, and one of the best parts of it was they played episodes of The Twilight Zone for like a half-hour block. Oh, that was so cool. I loved it. But you would do these quick kind of 20 to 30 second news briefs of, hey, here's what's going on. And I remember shaking. I'm like, I've been in radio for 15 years. What am I doing? And I'm like, oh, and I turn it on, and I'm pretty sure I sounded a little bit like this.
It's a little cold today.
And you're
What
the
made
only.
you all nervous? About
I don't.
it?
That's the thing. I don't know. I think it was just because
You're giving
it's the-
people bad news or something?
No, it was very specifically timed. Like you need to be done at this moment. You need to hit this, and I wasn't comfortable with the board yet, so I wasn't 100. And I'm going through everything in my head. Like right now, when I'm running the board for Buzz, it's you're flipping things nonstop. But I've been doing it for 5 years.
Yep.
So this first moment, those nerves really hit. But then after the first few breaks, it was fine. Like there was no issues. But the other thing too was we were in a high rise in downtown Portland, and this is one of the funniest stories about my mom. Was I'm all alone on the overnight shift. There's nobody else in the building, and she asks me. She was like, "So are you?" She's like, "Oh, you all by yourself?" It's like, yeah, it's just me. I'll walk around. I don't see anybody. I'm pretty sure that people come in and clean, but other than that, it's me. And she gets this like really like sad look on her face, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she goes, I'm just thinking about Die Hard. Like she was envisioning these terrorists coming in to get these bombs that are like in the bottom of the building that I'm in,
and her poor son is just stuck in the building.
And John McClane's going to come swinging through the window while I'm doing a news break or something. But it was just so funny. That's where her brain went with that. It was hilarious.
Yeah, dude. Because that like you wouldn't think like that would be her reaction. And she's like,
yeah, it's
Die Hard.
Really, Die Hard. And then it was at that moment too when we were thinking about it, and I was like, we need to watch Die Hard. Yeah. I think that's when I bought it.
That shit's funny. So you said after this you have to go to work, right? So like, what's like the daily routine of working on the Buzz Adams show?
Well, I get up at 3 a.m. and I'm at work by 4, and then so about from 4 to 5, I'm getting things ready for the show. I'm looking up topics. I'm writing my sports report. Just kind of getting everything ready. And it actually now at this point, I spend 15 minutes cleaning and sanitizing. So like the first thing, we have these big buckets of like the Home Depot buckets with all like the Clorox wipes and stuff, and just I cover everything now.
We got some over there for you if you need some.
We got you some.
So then about 5 o'clock, that's when let me backpedal a little bit. 15 minutes before the show, we all meet to go over the topics for that day. And we have a big dry erase board where we map out all the segments. Here's what we're going to do here. And, we have an interview here, maybe stuff like that. And then 5 o'clock, the show goes on. We're on till 10. And it used to be stick around till noon, do work in the office. But now it's just go home,
everybody
work from home.
Yeah. Done.
But that's one of the reasons why I got to go into work is we have a system set up so that we can record stuff and put it in remotely from our house. But for some reason, mine's not working. So that's why I got to actually go into work
into
today.
the studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's interesting.
That sounds kind of like hectic in some ways.
It can be, especially with a guy like Buzz who doesn't pay attention to the majority of the things that are happening. This was a couple weeks ago, and like I do sports, Lisa does news, Joanna does entertainment news, and we were talking about that movie Cuties on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
remember
got a lot
that.
of backlash.
How they were getting sued by somebody here in Texas. So I write down entertainment news, and then Joanna gives me the stories that she's talking about. That's the first thing, Cuties / Netflix. He's not even paying attention. And so she's done telling us the stories, and Buzz goes, oh, hey, if you want, Cuties is getting sued. And we're like, dude, I'm like, look at the board, man. I'm like, I just wrote it down.
Jesus, God bless.
Yeah, I love Buzz, man. I think he's hilarious. I think he's a smart dude. But I think what he does a lot is like you said, he'll just kind of space out. And
big time.
And then he'll just interrupt whoever is talking. Or if somebody's about to say something, he'll just jump in and like just. Sometimes I'm like, dude, I'm waiting for this guy to finish saying what I'm gonna say. But it's just Buzz keeps going.
Yeah, we do get that sometimes when we have Ask a Lawyer or those segments, and there are people who chime in and they're like, dude, we want to hear the lawyer, Buzz, not you.
They're like, Buzz, you don't have your goddamn law degree. we need the lawyer's opinion on
But
this
he's good at it, man. There's a reason he's been here for 30 years, and there's a reason the ratings are so good. And there was a reason the company wanted to syndicate the show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then like how I know that people love the Buzz Adams Morning Show. Like there's a lady at my work. I work in an office environment, right? She's an older lady. She could be my grandma. And every fucking morning, bro, you hear from her corner cubicle the Buzz Adams Show. Every morning, dude. She's like there's not one morning where that shit is not on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
She's a dedicated listener, dude.
Yeah, we've had a few fans that we've told, hey, we got Brandon Coates coming up. It's like, no shit. We've had Fernando Cuevas on already. And so now that you're here, they're like, dude, Brandon, no way. Brandon?
Yeah,
Brandon, the guy that like always talks shit to Buzz,
Yeah, I think apparently that's my shtick at this point. Is the guy who tells Buzz to shut up.
Yeah, which is
funny.
I think
good stuff.
It's good stuff because Buzz does need somebody like that. You guys fit perfect for that. It's Buzz.
The perfect example was earlier this week when we were interviewing Steve Byrne on the air, and he didn't know who Steve Byrne was.
Yep.
So Steve Byrne's a comedian.
Who is Steve Byrne?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Look at
forgive my ignorance.
Well, so Buzz, there's an old show called Sullivan and Son. It was on TBS.
Okay.
So he's a comedian. And he's got a new movie coming out. It's called Opening Act. And it's kind of a biographical movie, not directly, but it's really just his experience being a comedian and kind of going through that comedy scene. And they got another Asian guy to play him as like the younger version. Buzz thought that younger Asian guy was Steve Byrne.
Is that him on the screen?
Yeah. So Buzz, So the dude was in crazy. He was in Crazy Rich Asians and Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So Buzz thought you guys were interviewing this
He
guy.
thought we were interviewing him. So
actual Steve Byrne.
So we're going through and he's listing all the people that are in this movie. And
I
it's
would
like
do
the
some shit
who's
like
who
that.
in comic. Like Bill Burr's in this
Yeah.
movie and
Ooh,
Tom
Bill Burr.
Segura. And so a lot of the big name guys from comedy. And I asked him offhand. I was like, but is Steve in the movie? Oh yeah. He's the main guy. And I'm like, no, he's not. And he's like, no. He's like, yeah, it's a fact, 100%. And he's adamant about it for like 60 seconds straight.
Buzz is right. What Buzz says goes.
And Joanna chimes in and she's like, Buzz, that's not him. That's not Steve Byrne. And he's like, so it got to the point where he was about to call us racist to be, oh, you think all Asians look alike?
God bless.
So we got to flip that around on him. And I told him, so you think all Asians look alike?
Fucking Buzz, dude.
Dude, that's hilarious, dude. I feel like, oh man, that's. I mean, I guess after being on radio for so long, like you're allowed to do shit like that, right? Like,
Well, yes and no. I mean, he booked the interview.
oh, he booked it.
He booked it.
Oh, God bless. Oh, Jesus.
Oh my god! I thought like somebody else booked it.
Yeah.
No, he booked it, and I told Google the guy.
Yeah, he's on.
That took
He
you
got
how
the
long to
wrong
do that?
guy.
That took you what, 5 seconds
5
to Google
seconds.
Steve Byrne?
Dude, what I can't imagine is he's like, what did he book him like over the phone, email, or?
blindly.
So there's prep services that we go through
Okay.
where we get that's where a lot of the stories come, or bits and songs that we'll play every now and then. That comes from them, and then they also have interview opportunities as well. And
like
that was
people
one
who are doing like the media circuit,
exactly
right?
where
Okay.
you have 10 minutes with this person,
Yeah.
and then they got to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So that's how we booked
Okay.
it. And he just never looked into it.
They're like,
he just
hey,
watched the trailer, assuming that guy was Steve Byrne.
That's hilarious,
That's
dude.
hilarious, dude. I also saw like I was checking once Misa had hit me up about like he was going to reach out to you. I was looking at your Facebook and I saw that you guys do like an after buzz, right?
Used to. Haven't
Used
done
to.
it- haven't- yeah, haven't
Was
done
that
it
more
recently.
like during like when the whole quarantine was like really, really popping?
No, that started shortly after I started, because we had the YouTube stream. So we broadcast on, it used to be on YouTube, now it's on Facebook.
Yep.
And we would get a lot of questions during the show, and we decided, well, let's do an AMA.
Yeah.
So we did it after the show, and it just started as the Buzz Adams AMA, but I liked doing it. Everybody else was like, it's extra work. This sucks. Nobody wanted to do it.
Extra
and
work.
And I was like, that's like, if you guys don't want to stick around and do it, I'll do it. And then we just ended up calling it the After Buzz,
AfterBuzz.
because it was
AfterBuzz.
after the show. We did it Wednesdays, and the time would move around kind of depending on different things. And I had some pretty big guests on. I had Lou Ferrigno at
Yeah.
one point. Jim Brewer, he was awesome.
Oh,
Nice.
Dude, he's the whole reason I got to go to Metallica. So that
Did
guy
you ever
was
get like
shit.
starstruck with anybody coming through? Or who was like the one like interview
I don't know.
that you were like, holy shit?
I mean, early on in radio, I think I did. Meeting, I think one of the bigger ones was Ryan Stiles from the Drew Carey Show and Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
I got to meet him. It was a real brief. I just printed out on a piece of paper his picture and I had him sign it. And I got it sitting in a box somewhere.
Awesome.
Korn, I think, was
Korn,
a big
dude.
one.
Oh,
But
wow.
and that one wasn't even, hey, let's sit and shoot the shit. It was that one where they're sitting behind the table and then you just hand them the picture. They sign it. Maybe you shake their hand and you just kind of move along. That was
move on.
it.
All right, get out of here.
Really starstruck with them. But I don't know about starstruck in general.
Oh, I make you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's people out there that I definitely would be starstruck
Right.
by. But I can't, I don't think, it's to the point now I really don't, it doesn't Like I know they're just it's like us,
Right, it's
like
just
we're just normal human beings.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
that they make a crap load of money.
Yeah.
To go be famous.
Yeah, they're just a little bit like, well, they're famous and like it's just a little different than for them, but they're kind of like
They're the
just
same.
like
Yes.
us.
Like Jim Brewer was a cool one because I used to watch him on Saturday Night Live quite frequently, and it was really cool to meet him. Chris Kattan was a lot of the Saturday
Chris
Night
Kattan.
Live guys.
This guy's funny.
Were really cool.
They're real personable, huh?
You know, I was just thinking. I remember looking up some videos for the After Buzz, and there's this video that somebody had edited, and I think it's all of you guys there. It's you and Buzz and Nico and Lisa, and I think you guys were testing out like tacos or something. Mm-hmm. But when the video starts, you're talking, and Buzz is just like
Zoning out.
zoning out, and then somebody zooms in into his face. Yeah. It's just the whole time.
Yeah, you got to kind of give him one of these every now and then. Like, hey, buddy.
Yo, snap to it,
You
bro.
wake up.
Yeah, we used to do a lot more videos. We don't really anymore. Not really sure why. It's just,
I think those were fun, especially like when I would see you guys go live like on YouTube or now on Facebook. I think it was fun when you guys would like do like a challenge.
Well, we
challenges
we
like
used to
that.
do Buzz versus Brandon, and that was just really sporadic. That wasn't anything that was planned. It started out. This is because he's dropped a ton of weight.
Yeah.
So when he was kind of at his peak, he was laying down on the futon in his office, and I made a bet with him. I said, "I bet you can't get up without using your hands."
Oh, I think I remember.
You
this,
can't
dude.
just swing your legs and get up. And he couldn't do it. He was like a turtle. Like he was kind of stuck. So that's what started it. And then it got to the point where in our conference room where we have our meetings, there was a stool. So I bet him he couldn't stand on the stool on one leg for 15 seconds,
Wow.
maybe. Like it wasn't a lot. We did the cream pie challenge, which was the one where we were just chucking pies off the roof and you're trying to hit the other person in the face. And I forgot he's deathly afraid of heights. And I was the first one he threw. I was like, how did he miss so dramatically? Because he wouldn't go to the edge.
wouldn't go to the edge.
He would just
He just
toss
kind
it.
of goes like that. Just
He
throw
wouldn't
it out
even
there.
look over.
Yeah, he can't do it. Gosh, what were some of the other ones that we did?
Was there something you did that you regret?
That I regret?
Yeah, that hurt, or you just
Didn't
like, it
hurt,
was
but I got a
bad
bunch
idea?
of pubes to the face. That one was-
God, whoa, that's gross.
This is when I first started too.
every night.
And you know the pie face game where
Yeah.
you click the thing and then it splatters on you? Well, Steve Trevino, the comedian, was in, and he came in both Thursday and Friday at this time because he lives. I think he still lives in New Braunfels, but he lives here in Texas, so he just drives over. And I still flip him shit about this too because he has his own podcast that he does with his wife, and they were doing their own pie challenge. So I commented on his. I was like, at least there's no pubes in the pie because it was his idea. He came in and he was like, hey, what if we all just trim them up and we mix them all together and we put that on top of the whipped cream or the shaved cream or whatever we use.
And splat.
Yeah. So it was myself, Buzz, Steve, and at the time this was when Stephanie was working on the show. And she was pretty funny about it. She goes, look, I don't have pubes, but I'll compete. So we did. And the thing with the game is that it's designed for one person to click multiple times. We were only clicking it once.
Once each.
So I went first, and it clicks. And it was one of the only time Steve Trevino's ever cursed on the air. He dropped an F-bomb. Like, he was so nervous as he sat down. He's like this. He goes, oh, fuck. And Fernie had to run the board because I was in the other studio playing the game. So he hit the dump, and he was like, dude, don't curse again because we don't have that delay anymore. And so it's just click, 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 and it goes through. It went through twice.
Whoa.
2 full times, and then it comes back around to me.
It's just the anxiety of that.
And click, and then right there. And it's just... Oh, and both Buzz and Steve were like, yeah, I haven't showered in 2 days.
Bro.
Just fucking rubbing it
After
in.
the
Fucking
fact,
disgusting, man. Like, yeah, that's the one that I don't say I regret doing it, but that would be the most negative consequences I've ever had. Yeah.
That shit's
Would you do it
hilarious.
again? You guys want to try it right now?
No.
Damn it.
I'll pass the baton on that one to you guys.
He's like, you guys do it. You haven't done it before. All right, guys. So we're coming up on the 45-minute mark. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to ask Brandon some 5 random questions. We're also going to talk to him about a butt clapping volume test.
Ooh.
That should be pretty
That was
interesting.
hilarious,
right?
dude.
So yeah, guys, we'll be right back. We're going to take this break, so make sure you follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Apple Podcast, rate and review. Brandon, thank you for being on once again. Let's take this break, and we will get right back to it. What is up, everyone? My name is Chris from Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. Today, I am here to talk to you guys about the Anchor app. If you haven't heard about the Anchor app is the easiest way for you to make a podcast. Just like I did, you can create your very own podcast. The best thing about the Anchor app is, number 1, it's completely 100% free to use. Number 2, it is really easy to use. So if you're not good with technology, like my producer Lena here, this app is perfect for you. Number 3, the app is available for download from your app store. The Anchor app provides certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. This means that additional recording software is not needed. Get it out of here. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. Best part is you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So guys, open your app store, download the free Anchor app today, or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, guys, we are back from break. Episode number 47, Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast featuring Brandon Coates. Brandon, once again, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, of course, man.
Brandon. Thank you, bro.
No, this is fun, man.
Yeah.
We're going down memory lane, watching a whole bunch of old videos.
Dude, we just
and-
spent like an hour just watching Buzz Adams' YouTube clips. If you guys know
I'm glad that camera's still recording.
Find the KLEQ channel on YouTube and then go to the Brandon versus Buzz playlist. That shit is hilarious. Dude.
It's gold stuff.
We watched literally like 8 videos and fucking
Hilarious,
there's some good
dude.
shit on there.
That was
Shout
fun
out
stuff.
to Buzz, by the way.
Brandon got slapped in the face with some pubes, and we got to see it.
That's how it all
was great.
started, yeah.
And then he slapped Buzz
Twice, once with the fish.
twice.
We'll put a link.
And then
We'll
he told
put a
him there
link
was-
up on our page
Yeah,
for you guys.
we'll
Yep.
link this below. So, but yeah, dude, like I said, thank you again for being on the podcast. How are you feeling the vibe today?
Good. You guys got a
Awesome.
good little setup here. This is fun, man.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. We really like it. It's been a long time coming. I used to do this podcast on my phone, recording with my Apple headphones
In his garage.
in my garage.
Well,
Eventually,
you're certainly
And then-
past that now, man.
Yeah, and then we finally.
When
now
he
we're
first
here.
interviewed me, it was just like a white foldable table and one mic in the middle of the table.
Yep.
We got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I just thought like, damn it, Chris, why couldn't you call me like when you had all this shit set up? Now I'll have to spend my own money on this
you
shit.
didn't want to put in the fucking groundwork,
Nah,
bro.
dude, but
That's
it's all
what
right.
it's
Whatever.
about.
I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, Chris, remember that time I bought those mics?
So we were doing, me and Misa before the show, we were kind of not doing research on you, but just kind of like trying to figure out like a little bit more about you and like figuring out some of the experiences you've been through. And we found an article. I don't know if you wrote it. Did you write it? It was on.
I think I probably wrote it, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it was written by you, but it was about a time that you went to a music festival. And fucking, you had a panic attack like
Yep.
within the first 30 minutes. So go ahead and tell us a little
and
bit
the
about
thing
that.
is, before you start, man, like there's this article. Where did we find that on the KLEQ?
Yeah, we
website?
just we were looking Brandon Coates on Google and we found the article on
Right.
KLEQ's website.
And they have pictures of Brandon with EMT people.
Oh,
pissing
yeah.
out, and
Yeah,
this guy's
that's
just
on
rocking
my
out that whole
Facebook
time.
page and-
It's hilarious, dude.
Yeah, so that was nuts, man. It was something that I've dealt with for my adult life that I never really quite got a grasp of. Brandon's
scroll
craziest
down,
conscious
Joe.
story, full-blown panic
yeah,
attack.
scroll down a little and you'll see the pictures Misa was talking about.
There you go.
Look at him, dude, wearing a poncho.
That shit's hilarious.
So this was Family Values 2006, I think is when it was. And this, unfortunately, this was my first panic attack. I've had others since then, and it sucks, man. Like, have you guys ever had one?
No, I was gonna say, did it start off like now that you're an adult, or has it always been an issue?
It's something that this was the first one, and looking back on my life and kind of how I've been, and not to get too deep on anything here, but like I've dealt with depression and anxiety for a majority of my life at this point, but I never really grasped it, and I never really realized it until recently.
Never really acknowledged it.
Yeah, until recently. And I take a lot of steps to, I used to be on all kinds of different drugs to try to balance it out, and I don't like that. Fortunately for me now, like working out and meditation is a way to
helps you out.
Yeah, to kind of
Hey, if
make
you
it
need any help with that, call up Chuck, man. He does that.
The hypnosis.
Hypnosis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this was the first one that ever hit me, and it was family values. I remember I got the day off. It was in the middle of the week, and this was down in South Florida, and my boss, Kevin, had given me the day off because I'd worked like 30 straight days or something.
Yeah, it says in the article you went on like a binge of just working nothing but straight days.
Because this was really early on in the station, so we didn't have a lot of part-timers. So I was working Monday through Friday normally, and then I was on the air Saturday and Sunday live. So this was something 30 days or 14 days or whatever it was. It was a lot. So Kevin said, hey, I'm going to give you the day off so you can go to family values. All right, cool. I remember waking up that morning. I felt great. I was nice and calm. Everything was good. The birds are singing, and the sky is blue, and everything felt great. It's amazing.
It's a beautiful morning.
I'm strutting out and everything. So we get out there, and I think one of the bands was already on stage. And I'm hanging out, not backstage, but in this little VIP area that we had. I grab a beer. And all of a sudden I notice like my feet feel weird and my hands are starting to tingle and my heart's starting to race, and it just feels awkward. Something's going on there. So I'm just trying to breathe, and nothing's working. Then all of a sudden I get this, I get tunnel vision.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, something's happening. So I go over to a guy I work with, and I was like, I need an EMT. Like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, that's what it feels like.
That
Your
acid
chest
just took.
Yeah, your chest hurts. It's a horrific feeling, man. If you've never had it, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. So he thinks I'm fucking around. So, no, you don't.
Yeah, and like real fast, like I don't think I've ever had a full like blown panic attack, but sometimes like when I'm driving, I'll get like, if there's like a lot of traffic, like I'll get like this crazy anxiety.
It's called road rage.
No, dude. It's like, no. It's
Road
not
rage.
road rage. It's anxiety where I feel like, dude, like I don't know what the fuck is gonna go. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Well,
it feels weird, dude.
That's kind of like the beginning of an anxiety attack,
Okay.
because an anxiety attack is sparked by something.
Okay.
It's an event. It's stress. It's something's created it. Where with a panic attack,
It's just out of nowhere.
hits. Yeah,
Okay.
it just hit, and that's
crazy,
That's
dude.
the
Yeah.
scariest thing about them. And this thing hit, and all of a sudden, so the paramedics come over, and they're helping me out, and they're checking my vitals, and they're saying everything's fine, but it's still like I'm dying. Like, this is how I die. But at least I'm at a corn show, right? Like, all right.
That's why he goes like that.
Legendary.
So I'm sitting there, and
Legendary
I'm like,
death.
I got my hand. I got my head between my legs, and I'm shaking, and I'm like, oh, geez, like this sucks. And then I looked at the paramedic, and I was like, dude, can I have a cigarette? And he's like, no, you can't have a cigarette. And then, so some of my buddies were working security there, and they're laughing. They're like, look at this guy. He's dying, and he wants a cigarette. And I'm like, because all I'm trying to do is I'm thinking of something that will calm me down.
I was thinking like maybe a cigarette would help though.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Because a cigarette's technically an upper. And so that's only going to make things worse.
Yep.
So they get me on the gurney, and they're wheeling me out. And like in the picture, you can see because it's pouring down rain. It's in the middle of the summer in South Florida.
Look at him.
Look at him.
So
He's
it's
like,
pouring down
yeah.
rain, and they were like, Brandon, pictures, and I'm like, ah. So they get me to the hospital, and they're telling, and the paramedics were super cool guys. They were really nice. They gave me like a Xanax, which is kind of, and I'm like, this is amazing. I need to be taking this every day.
I need more of these.
Yeah, right. And so I'm hanging out in the hospital room by myself, and 15, 20 minutes later, maybe a little bit longer, the same paramedics come back, and they're wheeling this dude back, and his ankle's busted. Oh, and he's covered in mud. Like, it looked like Dax, how it's like sticking to the side.
To the right?
Dude,
Yeah,
I
degree
can't
angle?
watch that, bro. I get like sickened. Like,
It's not easy. So they bring him in. So they decide, let's go talk to Brandon real quick. Because, check in, see how he's doing. So we start shooting the shit. And they're telling me the story about how this dude was up on the lawn at the amphitheater, and it's caked in mud because it was pouring rain. He's caked in mud, and nobody knew him. Like, whoever he was with left.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So he's stuck there. he fell, and that's how he broke his leg.
Damn.
And so they called the paramedics, and they're like, we need to get this dude out of here. So they did, and he's caked in mud, and then they eventually come back, and it was an hour and a half later is when the guy starts to wake up, and they've got his hands tied, and he's freaking out. No, I'm sorry, they weren't tied yet. They tied them because he yanks the catheter out of his throat. You know, the one they do to like intubate you? Because the guy was throwing up on himself, and he was in bad shape. So he just like straight out. So then they had to drug him, tie him down, and then
Go back to sleep. Here's 2
And
seconds.
then your panic attack started again.
No, I'm like, look, I went through some shit, but I'm not that guy. Like, I'm cool with that,
I
man.
didn't have a fucking tube down my fucking throat that I had to fucking yank out. Dude.
Yeah,
Fuck that.
but no, I mean it's they suck. I wouldn't wish them on anybody. But I'm to the point in my life now. I think I've probably had 3 or 4 at this point, and they come out of nowhere and they're fucking terrifying. But I've been able to get off of all the drugs. I'm able to kind of. I mean, the only thing I really ever take in the morning is fucking turmeric for my bones because I'm so fucking sore all the damn time. I'm an old man. But no, and that's I've even written articles about meditation and stuff. It's something I'm really into because that's helped me immensely. So if anybody is listening to this and they need help, I'm always more than happy to help anybody. If they're
it's
going
really
through this
more,
stuff.
in your opinion, it's really more of like a mental thing.
Oh, big
like,
time.
Kind of like having yourself in a good state of mind.
It is, but that doesn't mean I'm never going to have one again.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Can always come back.
I know it could, but I'm able to control it better, I think, or I'm at least in a better mental state. So yes, if anybody is listening to this and they ever need assistance, if they're going through shit like that, or if they need help, I'm an open door. If anybody needs to reach out, you can find me, you can email me. It's Brandon@BuzzAdamsShow.com. You can go to the Buzz Adams Facebook page and send me a message. So if there's anybody who needs that help, I'm always
But only for people that are subscribed to our YouTube.
Click subscribe, then send the message. There you go. Yeah.
It's kind of funny that we're talking about this because yesterday we had DJ Sansans on here. Shout out DJ Sansans, by the way. And we had a discussion about mental health and dealing with anxiety and like when you say meditate, is that yoga or what is that? What?
It's just straight up meditation.
Straight up meditation.
I've used since I was 15, 16. I've always looked into meditation. I usually would make it more for sports because I would try to get in the right spot for sports. But I would do it off and on, but I never did it consistently. And the thing that really put me up over the edge is they have the apps now, like the Calm app. I paid for the subscription, and now I do it daily. Nice. And there's a bunch of different things. You can do a guided meditation. You can do a music. You can also just sit in silence. And all of it shows benefits. And that's one thing. There's a great show on Netflix. It's a limited series called The Brain Explained, or The Mind Explained, I think. And one whole episode's about meditation and how it truly rewires your brain into being able to deal with things better. Like I've noticed that since I've started doing it daily, the stress levels are down. I'm a lot calmer because, going back to when I was a kid, I had a nasty fucking temper. Like when I played sports, I got kicked out of a lot of games. Baseball games, soccer games, arguing with the umpire and shit. And so this is at least, and don't get me wrong, I still have my moments, but no, it's something that really helps, and it's truly just 10 minutes a day. And there's other days where I do more. And one of the things I do is or one of the things that it stresses too is just being in the moment, no matter what you're doing. If you're doing your laundry, if you're vacuuming, if you're going for a walk, observe more things. Like there's a walking meditation that it does, and you can do it with the sound or without the sound. And if you do it with the sound, it's like take a look around. As I'm walking around my neighborhood, I'm noticing parts of these houses that I've never noticed before, and it's a different way to look at things, and it's a way to calm down.
Takes your mind off of like everything else, because if you think about it, when you're walking somewhere, it's like you're on autopilot. Are you thinking about is what you're gonna do when you get to work, or throughout the day and shit like that, and what DJ Sansan had said, which is pretty much what you're saying. I think one of the first steps is to acknowledge that you have that issue.
Well, and that's one of the things I fought for a long time, man, is the depression and anxiety, because it was really the anxiety was from depression. Because the thing that everybody thinks is like, oh, I'm sad. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's not it. Like, I noticed for a time there, I wasn't motivated to do anything. I didn't like doing things. The things that used to give me joy, and I fucking hated that. I'm like, dude, what happened to me? Like, where's the Brandon that used to love going out? Where's the Brandon that used to love doing these things? And the person that really kind of pushed me was my wife. And it was mainly because she's like, you don't want to fucking leave the house. What are you doing? Like, I want to leave. So I'm like, she's right, man. She's got a point. Like, I'm a stick in the mud. So, I mean, it's one thing to be a homebody. It's another thing to be a stick in the mud. So then that's when I really started to look into it, and I really started to read up on it and watch videos on it and do the meditations and stuff. And there's people out there, you got to be on medication. That's just the unfortunate side effects of things. You know, there's no way you can do it on your own. But then there's a lot of people out there who I think are on medication that don't need to be on medication. They've gone in, and that's the quick fix. That's the go-to. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to.
No.
I mean, there are people that you do. Like, don't get me wrong. But there are a lot of people out there who I think are on medications that they could very easily put in a little bit more work. But that's what kind of scares people sometimes.
I mean, that's like with everything else.
aspect.
You look for the easy way out on stuff that you don't like to deal with.
Well, and that's what's changed in me over the past 20 years or so, is I was lazy as hell, man. Like, when I was in school, I was able to coast and get B's. Like, I never really had to put a lot of effort in. My sister was the straight A student, so I was like, well, I'm not going to match that. So,
like, might as well.
I remember
One of us had to do it, and she did.
Well, I remember I got straight A's one time, and then I was like, this is it?
That's it?
Yeah, nobody gave a fuck.
I'm like, I don't get a parade or anything. Like, well, fuck this. I was able to kind of get through and just coast. And when it came to sports too, I was kind of naturally gifted, so I was able to coast. But then when I would compete against people who actually practiced and were good, I got my ass kicked. Like, all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, I'm not that good.
Yeah, because you realize that they were outworking you, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So when I got into radio, was one of the things my advisor first told me was, you've got a lot of talent, but if you don't put in the work, you're not going to go anywhere. Those two things
go hand in hand.
Exactly, and you've got to have them both in order to really succeed. I mean, you can succeed with one or the other, but you really need both.
You're taking notes, right, Joe? You're taking some fucking notes, right? I hope so.
But unfortunately, I got lazy again, like when I was in Florida, and I think that's kind of what sparked maybe this panic attack. Was I was really unhealthy. I wasn't eating good. I was drinking a lot. Like, I would polish off a half gallon of whiskey in a weekend.
Jesus.
Damn.
Like nothing.
Yeah. Like, it's the way that I was at that time, and I was able to function like that. But that's no way to live life. Like, that sucks.
No, yeah.
So I got to the point where I don't even remember when it was, but I became more determined. I'm like, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to do this shit right. So now anything I do, I'm doing it 100%. I started kickboxing 5 years ago, and the goal was to actually compete, to actually get, my old ass is to go get in an actual kickboxing match.
Throw some hands.
Some MMA.
Chris has some boxing classes too.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
But unfortunately, none of it's ever really, it never really panned out, especially with COVID and stuff. And the gym that I went to closed. So now I take Krav Maga. Well, before COVID, I was taking Krav Maga. But so I was determined. And my wife would always be like, she would see my shins. I kick the heavy bag, and they're just all bruised up, and you're sore. And it got to one point, I actually tore my labrum, and I had to have surgery.
It's just going too hard.
Yeah, and that was, and she's like, I get that you want to to do your best, but fucking pull it back a notch, man.
Chill out, guy.
So, I've made the decision here within the past few years. No matter what I'm doing, I'm going to put 100% effort in, no matter what. Right. So if it's kickboxing, if it's the Buzz Adams Morning Show, if I choose to get that bachelor's degree, it's going to be 100%, and I'm going to do it right. Yep. So
that's the way everybody should be thinking.
Yep.
You inspired me right now.
You inspired.
Yeah, make sure to cut this part out and send it straight to my
like that. Well, I mean, shit. If you need inspiration, go watch those Joe Rogan videos.
Joe Rogan,
that guy.
You know what inspires me? What inspires me is the very first Joe Rogan video. I don't know if you've searched it up on YouTube, and if you look it up, it's like, if you think like, dude, this was 11 years ago. This guy, and when the video starts, you see Joe Rogan's friend. Just they don't even know they're going live yet. They're like, are we live yet? Like, and it's like, dude, he went from that, and look at where he's at. It's
well, I think it ended up being an ad. He has the products called On It, and a bunch of different things. And he, it's a part of this ad where he says, if you were the hero of your own story, what would that hero do today? Be that hero. Like that's the motivation. Like, don't fuck around anymore, man.
That's a brilliant call to action. Bro.
Like, if you be the hero of your own story. If there's something that you want to do, if you want to go box, go fucking box. If there's something that you want to do, go do it. Yeah. There's nothing stopping you but you.
Yourself.
Oh yeah, but I mean, obviously, if you're have physical issues and you can't box.
Exactly. I'm blind.
But other than that, like in general terms,
but be
the message is
and it sounds corny, it sounds fucking cliche, it sounds stupid,
but it's true.
Yeah,
it's like 100% like the real shit. It's like,
I feel like life is almost cliches, and that's why they're cliches, dude. Because it's like, for a reason, somebody's saying, "Hey, you want to make it in life? Well, guess what? Just work fucking hard." It's a cliche, but it's the goddamn truth.
It's the work thing that really
consistency.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people kind of start to fade a little bit. Is that they get lazy, or they get complacent, or they're not seeing the results that they think that they should be seeing. You know,
or
what I
they
mean?
just get too comfortable where they're at, and they just don't look forward.
That's exactly where I was when I was in Florida. That's the exact same thing that happened. Was I got complacent and I became comfortable with where I was.
There, dude.
And that ended up biting me in the ass because I didn't, when I got laid off, I didn't have any backup plan. There was no jobs to be had. That's why I enrolled back in school, because I realized, shit, if this goes away, there's nothing else here. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you just need to be able to find what you want to do, and then you just have to do it. And it sounds stupid, it sounds cliche, it sounds cheesy, but it's true.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, there's a lot of, like what you said, there's a lot to say for actually getting down and actually doing something, you know, you know what I mean? Like, for example, I had said I wanted to start this fucking podcast for like years, dude. I had always just said like, oh, one day I'll start a fucking podcast. And then one day I saw, shout out my cousin Paticus, I saw him on a podcast, and they were like already like 15 episodes deep. And then he was like, dude, all you got to do is do it. Just download the Anchor app and fucking
Anchor's dope, man.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's how we broadcast Rockstar 101.
Yeah.
We just go through Anchor.
Yeah,
shout out Anchor.
Yeah, we use Anchor, and then it distributes everywhere that you need.
It's
like
so
it
much
makes it
easier
so
than it
easy.
used to
It's
be.
all in one.
Yeah.
And so once I realized, like, okay, it's literally this easy to do a fucking podcast. The only fucking reason you're not doing it is because of you're not doing it.
You're lazy.
Like, you know what I mean? And then after that, dude, once I realized that, then I just figured out, okay, now that we're doing a podcast, like, let's be consistent and let's actually do this shit. You know what I mean?
And it's one of the things too is you need to know you do have limitations. I mean, I tell my kid this. You'll hear, "Oh, you can be anything you want." No, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gotta
you have limitations, but if you know them, you know how to utilize the limitations. But then you also utilize your strengths.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to tell her, like, you're not going to be a 6'6" black guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
Realistic.
Because that's not you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you have to take what you're good at and you need to apply that. You also have to realize what your drawbacks are and either work on them or just realize you need to work around them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's something I think that a lot of people miss when they're talking about being motivated or getting something done is they don't realize that there are limitations, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody's got them. You just got to realize what they are.
Yep. And then, like, one thing I thought about too, like working in like radio, like you do, like, did you draw inspiration from anybody? Like, was there somebody on the radio that you were listening to, and then you're like, oh, like, fuck, I like the way he does radio. I want to kind of like model myself after him. Like, you know what I mean?
His name was Marconi. He worked on 94.7 NRK in Portland. He was the afternoon drive guy. And when I was working in that lumber yard, we would listen to the radio, and he was so entertaining and engaging to me. It was the most amazing show. And it was in that moment I was like, well, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
So then I did, and I ended up working with him.
Whoa.
Nice.
I became his intern. Just like a year later, like after that, and I ended up, being an intern for him for a year. It was great.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to when I was just living in Portland more recently, I ended up working with him again. They brought him back to host a morning show, and we had that awkward. Do we handshake or hug kind of a moment? Because I honestly didn't think the guy would remember me.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked with him for a year, but I was just the intern.
The intern.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Disposable.
And he sure shit, I ran into him in the hall. He's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing good." And I go in for the handshake, and he goes in for the hug.
Oh.
So it becomes that weird, like, oh, we're gonna kind of do
what's up?
this thing.
How you doing?
Like, it was all fucking weird. So we both got a laugh out of it. But he was super cool, man. He was really entertaining. He was really engaging. Just made a mistake on the air, and he never really quite. I mean, he's still in radio doing stuff and podcasting and things like that. But he made a mistake on the air that didn't go well for him.
Yeah, dude, and that's something that like it can happen just like that. Like you say, you slip up, dude. That's all it takes is that one moment.
That one moment. You got to be careful, conscious
careful
of what you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm to the point now. So we work with a delay. So what we're saying on the air, when I'm on the microphone, you hear it on the radio 7.5 seconds later.
Yep.
So if somebody were to curse, I hit the delay and it dumps that audio. So then it's a little bit closer to being in real time. And so it cuts it into 2. It drops it to like 3 seconds or something like that. And I'm to the point now where I'm out in public. If I hear somebody curse,
you're like, yo,
I'm looking for the dump button. I noticed it when
where is it?
Yeah, when I first moved here, I was waiting at the doctor's office and somebody cursed. They were like, oh shit. And I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the button? Where's the dump button?
Dumb button.
Yeah.
Does all this make you like not curse anymore? Like
No, I got a really
Did you
bad
not hear him
mouth.
just dropping the F-bombs?
I got it's something my wife and I have talked about that we need to
Address.
Yeah, because we curse too much in the house and stuff.
The baby.
And
The kid.
I mean, the kid doesn't say anything that's really inflammatory, but it's too much.
Yeah.
So we started a competition, and the loser had to pay for breakfast today. My wife paid for breakfast this morning because she doesn't realize that truly now. I think one of the reasons too, kind of backpedaling to like when we were in Florida and stuff, and how like I was unmotivated and wasn't really doing a whole lot, is for me I feared failure. Because what if I try and I don't get it? You know what I mean? And that I think stops a lot of people.
It does.
Yep.
Yeah,
It
stopped
stops
me
a lot.
plenty of times. Yeah.
And you can't let that. You need to be able to look at that failure or look at that loss as a lesson. So the next time you do it, you're not going in where you were before. I'm back to where I was. No, you're not. You now have this experience that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
You failed. You
Well, it's
know
like
where you
what
failed.
people say. What is it? Is like you haven't won anything until you've lost.
Yeah, exactly. Or you see the signs up like at the place I train where they have jujitsu, where it says either you win or you learn.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you got to take them as a learning lesson. And that's something that I started to realize as well, where I was like, I think I was just flat out afraid to fail. So like when I was in Florida, I had a good job. I made decent enough money. I wasn't hurting, but I wasn't rich by any stretch of the imagination, especially in South Florida, because it's so
Yeah. Cost of living over there is a lot more than it is here.
And then when I finally realized that, I told myself, I'm not going to allow that to hold me back anymore. And it's easy to say that. It's harder to do it. But saying it's the first step. Because if you don't, you're never going to get there. You're never going to get past that. You're never going to be able to get to the point where you're doing it if you're not able to tell yourself that.
Yeah.
And it sounds stupid. You always see the fucking quotes of people on social media. Oh, they can't, like, your cheesy fucking, hey, today's the day to do something new and fun. It's like, oh, it's my friend's wife that's in a new pyramid scheme. Fucking awesome. And you don't want to be a dick, but
I think true.
no, I'm not buying those weird beans that you bought.
But I think all that comes with like also like maturity, you know, like you hear all this from like older people, all these quotes and stuff, and so when you're young, you're thinking like, dude, it's fucking corny ass, shut up,
Yeah.
you know. But then once you live your life and you go through experiences, and that's when you're like, holy shit, my grandma was right.
Yeah, and that was, and I tell my kid this shit all the time because I see her getting lazy with certain things, and she doesn't give a fuck. I can see it in her eyes. I'm like, God damn it, stop being like me.
That was you.
I'm like, that was me when I was a kid.
Yep.
But then like, going back to the story with my wife and the cursing thing, she doesn't. She's willing to still make bets with me, which I like. But I'm not losing. Like,
Competitive.
Oh fuck. Oh,
Man.
so well, shit. I got the scorecard on my phone.
Oh wow, damn, that competitive.
That's what kind of relationship.
She's like, I'm not losing this shit.
You know what? We should have bet Brandon to see how many beers we could drink by the end of this podcast.
Right?
It was 52-6.
Oh, that's a blowout.
Do you guys bet on anything?
Yeah, she had to buy breakfast this morning.
Oh,
So
there
that
you
was
go.
it. But I also didn't include all the F-bombs she dropped when Dak broke his ankle.
Oh.
Because she's just going, fuck.
You're like telling him.
And I looked at him like, you know what?
You're writing them down
I was like,
like one,
sweetheart,
two,
it's
three.
okay. I'm not going to count that towards
Yeah.
you. But then at the beginning, was it the beginning of this year, I think? Yes, the beginning of this year, we were going to do a weight loss challenge. Because I'll do decent. I'll work out and I'll eat healthy for a week, and then I just go to complete crap.
Yeah.
And I'm eating just garbage, and then I feel like dog shit on the weekend. And so I need that motivation. I need almost that competitive...
The drive.
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah.
So I talked her into doing this thing. So the GNC in the mall had this machine that would take all of your measurements from your BMI and everything else. And so we went in on, I think it was New Year's Day, and we said, we're going to give us until my birthday, which is in the middle of March. And then once my birthday hits, we're going to compare. And we created a grading scale because, men's and women's bodies are different.
Yeah.
So there's no way that we can compare directly. We need to make it so that it's fair.
Make it fair.
I kicked her ass, dude. I mean, she did good, but
Fair enough.
What was the bet? Well, what did you
that
win?
bet. I don't think we bet anything on that one. I think that was
just
a pride.
satisfaction?
Yeah. Well, I remember I was doing a remote, which is basically where us radio people go stand somewhere for 2 hours. It's like, hey, come on over to this place. And the guy that was working it with me, it was at a bar, and there were some listeners there, and they had bought him a beer, and they offered me a beer. And I was like, no, I got my final weigh-in coming up today.
Not going to ruin it.
And he's like, what are you talking about? And I told him about the competition. And the whole 2 hours, people are offering food and drinks, and I told him, I'm not even drinking water right now, man, because I got to go weigh.
I gotta go throw up.
You're like, I'm working here.
Yeah, like I'm gonna run to the gym. So
I'm gonna run home and take a
I'm
shit
5
right before
miles
I weigh
away.
myself.
So I get a little overly competitive sometimes.
Well, that's a good thing. I think like competition drives like
Hence
anything,
the reason I'm kicking Buzz's ass in all those competitions.
Yeah. Well, one of the videos that I saw, me and Misa saw this, and it wasn't a competitive video, but it was
I love this video.
It's right here, right in front of us.
Jada Stevens butt clap.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So okay, go ahead. I'll let you introduce this video because I don't know who this.
Yes, you do. Shut that.
No, I don't.
What a liar.
I've never
Check his
heard
browsing history.
Yeah, dude, I swear to God, you won't find it.
That's
in
where
there.
it popped up. He had seen it like at least
that's
10
why you
times
put that
before.
shit
No,
on.
you probably
Private
when you
time.
first typed in Jada Stevens, it probably went to like Pornhub.
Yeah.
I will make sure to put butt clap KLAQ.
So we frequently have porn stars in because the Red Parrot will bring them in.
See, that's what I told you.
And
You see, so you do know. Chris.
So you do know.
I know. You see, I told you.
No,
Like
because
you
they were
don't know.
asking like, well, why is there a stripper there? And I'm like, well, she's probably in town for an event.
Yeah.
And what they do is
Yeah,
the
they're not strippers,
manager
they're porn
stars.
will
Media circuit.
reach out to do a media circuit. Let's get on the radio shows. Let's promote this bitch.
And speaking of
Literally.
like having that delay for the dump button, porn stars are the worst. They curse all the time, and we warn them so
Well, I mean,
much.
have you seen their videos?
I mean, there's been some that have been really, really cool, but there's been others where you're like, it's a good thing that you're in porn because you'd be doing nothing else.
Yeah.
And like there ain't nothing going on upstairs.
Dirty mouth.
Jesus. But
All right,
so the whole point of this was Buzz had found some videos. He found some videos. He's the reason we got a whole bunch of shit blocked on our work computers now.
Yeah, I bet.
Because he used to research who we had coming in. And
on Pornhub, he's like,
he would do it. He's
research.
got a huge TV screen behind him, and that's how we watch things. If he's showing us a video,
Hey, look at her acting in minute 34.
and
in
there
this
was one
video.
time, it was a parody video, but it was a trailer for this parody, and it had actual sex scenes in the trailer. And and like Lisa's in there, and you can see, and it's like fucking Buzz, dude. What are you doing? Of course, thankfully, we work with Lisa and Joanna, who really don't like. They're like, okay, it's
They
fine.
understand.
It's not the end of the world, but I mean, that's something that can get you in some deep
yeah,
trouble.
it's still
yeah,
respect.
definitely.
You know what I mean?
That's a workplace.
Exactly, but he had found the videos of these ladies who were able to clap their butt, and so he wanted to get a microphone in front of her butt, and he wanted to.
So the whole clapping
check
thing
it.
was
Wanted
just
to check
like
the decibel.
Yeah, we're just trying to check the decibels. Now, she's not really able to register too much, and she told us off air. She's like, I didn't want to call anybody out, but the people who generally do that get the big noise, that's a fake ass. That's how you know they've had implants.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
And she was like, and as you could tell,
Yeah.
I have not.
all natural.
dude, it's just a video. What does Brandon say?
There's a part where he's like, "Oh, it looks great from over here."
I can't see. I can't help from here, but it looks
Yeah,
great.
he's like, I can't do anything about it, but it looks amazing.
It looks great from here.
It is just funny, but yeah, this video, guys, if you guys are wondering what we're referencing, it's on the KLEQ YouTube page, and yeah, they have this adult film star, get in there and shake her ass in front of a microphone to see if they can get it to read a decibel.
Look, dude, she's
Yeah, and it wouldn't do.
gets all
So
in
I
there.
think in the video it shows Buzz's VU meter.
Yeah, it does. It
And
shows-
it's really not registering. She kind of gets it going.
It's like 6 decibels.
but then it was after the fact where she told us, she was like, yeah, the people that do that, they got.
and I'm sure
fake
Buzz knew that
earplugs.
too. He just wanted to.
He just wanted to see her clap her butt. Yeah.
Buzz was like, I feel like we should put this shit on Mythbusters, so let's
Right?
do it.
Mythbusters.
Bro, that shit's hilarious because, like, yeah, when you watch the video, like, she's trying, but yeah, you see the little meter, it's like, if somebody's like fucking, like, if the AC is on or some shit, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
barely.
And then there's this dude right here trying to put the mic like pretty much in her butt. She's just like, that's how close it gets.
That's funny, dude. So, okay, let's get ready to fucking wrap up this podcast, but dude, these videos, dude, these fucking videos,
videos,
like,
dude.
I'm just thinking of like how cool it is to like go to work and it's like, what are you guys gonna do today? Well, this adult film star is coming through. We're gonna get a microphone, put it near her ass, and she's gonna shake her ass, and then we wanted to see if it
If
registers.
it's loud enough.
But that wasn't said out loud. All you did is like you went to work and then Buzz was like,
Hey,
"It's time."
Dude, that shit's hilarious, dude. I love that shit.
Yeah,
So-
that's what we get paid to do.
yeah,
So,
dude. Fuck yeah, I envy you guys so much. One day we'll be there, Misa.
Yeah, one day, dude. One day soon. Maybe in a couple of weeks
So what's
after this
what's,
episode airs.
what's next for Brandon Coates, like career wise, or like where do you see yourself projecting, like maybe like 5-10 years down the line?
I don't know. I know one thing I want to do is I want to keep developing Rockstar 101
Nice.
with Shim because that's a lot of fun doing that thing with him. We got a big following at this point. People actually support the podcast, which I find real. I'm like, dude, like it's free. What are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
But
That's
there's
good,
you
though.
can like with Anchor, you can have
Donations.
and they
That's
spend
all
like
the-
That's
$5
when you know
a
you're
month
doing
and-
something right. You know, you have people that are willing to
contributing.
Yeah, but what he's talking about is on Anchor they have what's called listener support.
Yeah.
listeners.
And so what the listeners can do is if you support a podcast, they can like do like a donation or a monthly donation, and that way you can like keep creating and like you can keep putting.
It
out
helps
new
us.
episodes.
It's a great job because it helps us advertise. So what I'm able to do is we record the podcast. He's in Australia, so obviously we do everything through Zoom. And we record the podcast. We do an audio version that goes up on Anchor, and then the video version goes up on his YouTube page. And then I chop it down into a 30 to 60 second promo of something like funny or
engaging.
something that's gonna grab the audience, and then we'll go advertise that on Facebook, and we'll pay for the advertisements. So the people that are supporting us really are
paying
supporting
for the-
us. Yeah, we're
yeah.
not using that to go.
To the
Grab
bar.
a 12-pack.
Yeah, we're putting that forward into this. So for the future question, it's really focusing on Rockstar 101. Continuing with the Buzz Adams Morning Show, doing everything that we do there because it's too much fun.
awesome,
to
man. It's
go goof around at
I'm
work.
glad you guys are still around. For
So the
real.
Rockstar 101 podcast, you can find that on. I'm assuming on all major
All platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google,
Okay.
doesn't matter. You can go to anchor.fm/rockstar101 if you want to be a supporter. But I think you need to go support your guys' podcast first.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
We should start that, man.
For sure. Well, we like our mantra is let's support the people that support
Support
us.
us,
So
definitely.
everybody that, if you guys want to check out Brandon Coates on his own podcast, Rockstar 101, you guys know where to go get that. Obviously, we don't need to tell you, but that's really cool, dude. And like, I always love talking to people with other podcasts because they're able to like give us new ideas or like give us different spins on like doing the podcast. So I really
or
do
the other way
appreciate
around. We've had a few friends that got inspired. At the fact that we have guests on, and shout out to our boy Dre on Wheels.
that. Yeah, for real.
So yeah, it's always good to be on the other side of that too.
yeah, it's Rockstar 101 has morphed over the 2 years that we've done it. And it's a really random thing too because back when Shim was in Sick Puppies, I was a big Sick Puppies fan.
Yeah, they were a
I'd
big
listened to a
band
ton
back
of
in
their
the day.
music, and then they split up, and I just randomly met him here. He came in to do an interview because he was promoting his solo album, and Buzz happened to be on vacation, so I conducted the interview,
Hey.
and we hit it off. We did the interview. He went and did an acoustic set over at Sun City Studios.
Okay.
So I showed up to that. We went and had lunch with him. And I remember this is when my wife and we were planning our wedding. And he had played this one song. It's a really, really deep, deep song called I think it's "Don't Wake Me Up." It's the last track on his solo album, and it's all about going through the shit where you just don't want to wake up. It's not that you're depressed. It's not that you want to kill yourself. It's life has gotten so difficult. Can we control alt delete almost? Yeah. Can we just reset? I don't want to wake up. And it's a dark song. And it's an amazing song. And he was playing that for everybody. And he played it for my wife. And after she heard it, she was like, God, she goes, it's like you know my demons. And he's like, oh, I want to use that. Can I use that quote? And I'm like, yeah. I go, but you got to come perform at our wedding.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he was like, I don't know if I can, but I got a good one for you. He goes, I'll give you an unreleased song.
Okay.
So we leave, and in the back of my brain, I'm like,
Here, forget it.
Like he's just talking.
He's just saying it.
Yeah, he doesn't mean anything. But this tells you the kind of guy that Shim is. Where the next day he's at the airport and he calls me, just to say, hey, I got this song. Only thing I'm asking that you do is you don't post it online because it's never been released, but you can use it however you want in your wedding. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Dude. This is awesome.
So I'm on the phone. I'm like, I got this big old grin on my face. And when I hang up, my wife was like, who's that? And I go, my new best friend. He's a rock star. And she's like, bullshit.
And we're playing this song at the fucking wedding, by the way.
Yeah. And
nobody's ever heard of it.
So the interesting thing is our wedding theme was Up, the movie Up.
True.
So we had, since I know audio, I had already created this first dance medley of Disney Pixar songs. Right. It had the song from Up, and it had a song from WALL-E, and it ended with the song from Coco when they're actually doing the dance. And I did
awesome,
like an actual, because my wife used to be in Viva El Paso and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I told him, like, look, our first dance has to be something.
Yeah,
it's got to
be legit. Yeah.
So then we're trying to figure out, well, what do we do now? He gave us this song, and it's the song was all about, I think it's called Give Me Love, is what the name of the song is. And we're trying to figure out, what are we going to do? We can't cut his song short.
Yeah.
And we've already got 3 minutes of Disney shit I put together. So... And that was a frustrating thing because when I edit audio, I'm in my own head doing things, and like I'm hitting the space bar a million times. I'm listening to the same thing a million times, and it's frustrating my wife. She's like, would you just let it fucking play?
Oh, this guy gets too.
Oh,
yep. That's what we were doing earlier, editing an episode, and like we were going over the same part like over and over. But
so
it's
like
meticulous.
you're listening because you're trying to find that one beat that you can line up here, and so that it flows. You don't want to go from one tempo to another tempo. And you're trying to do all this stuff, and we were like, we can never work together again. But so what we ended up doing is we used his song, and then we cut short, I guess, the Disney stuff, the Pixar stuff, and we still had that. But it was funny because when his song ended, people start clapping because they think it's over, and I'm like,
No,
fucking stop! Just dancing, man. So then we went into this whole kind of like ballroom dance, and then it ended with us doing the Coco dance. And then by the time the song ended, it ends with a dun dun, and nobody's doing anything.
Supposed to clap now.
So in our wedding video, you see me going.
You're like, dude, where's the?
I'm like, yeah, now you can clap.
Hello.
So, but I had texted Shim that day. To thank him again, be like, hey, I'm getting, because one of the things that he and I were talking about is he told me in that lunch with all these other people, he's like, look, if you're getting nervous or anything, because he and I were talking about getting married and planning a wedding and all these things, he's like, if you feel nervous or anything, call me, man. And again, I'm thinking, bullshit. Like,
you're not gonna
he's just talking out of his ass.
Yeah, he's just being nice. You know, like he's not, like he's never actually going to do that.
He's had millions of conversations.
Yeah, I'm like, he probably says this to everybody. Yeah. Apparently not. Because
I think it's something in Brandon's eyes.
Yeah.
You like that?
Whoa.
So this was 2000. When was he in town? 2016. No, 2018. Fuck. I gotta remember when I got married.
We're gonna edit that out.
No, it's fine. So he ended up coming back into town. I think it was that January. Or no, shit. I'm sorry. He came in town to Street Fest that October.
Okay.
So we had just gotten married. We got married in September, and he came in town for Street Fest. So he and I were just talking. We're just hanging out. We fucking partied all fucking night. Him in the band, and it was an absolute blast.
Dude, that's fucking dope.
And then by the time the new year rolled around, all of a sudden I get this really weird phone number calling me, and I'm like, that's got to be a scammer. No, it was from Australia. And he texts me. He's like, answer your fucking phone. It's me.
Yo, answer the damn phone, man.
Yeah, he's like, it's me. Pick up. So I did.
Are you gonna pay for the long distance?
And then that's when he presented the idea of, hey, I want to do a podcast.
Wow, so it was his idea.
Yeah, he's like, I want to do a podcast, and I want you to do it with me. He had, I guess he had been to another radio station, and one of the record labels or something was kind of like, oh, you guys sound great together. You should do a podcast. So I guess he did a trial run with this guy. And Shim was like, I didn't like it.
I don't like him.
Yeah, he's like, I liked our rapport. So let's do this. So we did, and we just kind of planned it out. And it's morphed over time in the sense that we didn't have a lot of a plan. It's, both me and him have kids, married, balancing work life and family and
time difference.
Going out and actually getting recognized, which is still really fucking weird to me. But I don't mind it. Like if anybody ever sees me in public, I'm not going to shun you away, and I'm not going to be a dick. Like, if you want a picture, I'm more than happy to do that. It's an ego boost. It's great.
I was going to say, how do you feel when people do that?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It means that they're listening to the show. Yeah. If anybody tells you otherwise, they're a dick.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually kind of freaking out because when I hit you up, you were doing like a live thing, and I think you were with your wife. And I was all like, fuck it, I'm going to shoot my shot and be like, hey, man, I'm a fan. And you didn't answer right away. You actually, because I work very early. I'm at work at 3:00 in the morning. And then I see your message like at 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, I text this guy right away. Like, yo, dude, Brandon answered, dude. Like, he's down.
Yeah, why not, man? I mean, this has been an absolute blast. We're watching videos. We're all just sitting here shooting the shit. This has been fun. This is good. But yeah, getting recognized and stuff. It's still a lot of fun, and I hope that never goes away. I hope that feeling of cool, man. Like, there's been times I'm at my kid's school and a dad comes up.
Hey, I know
he's
you.
like, hey, man, that was a really good show today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm like, fuck yeah, man.
Dude, that has to feel good. Yeah.
No, it does. It's a definite ego boost, and it's why I've never understood people being a dick.
Yep.
Because you don't know what that person's going through.
And
I mean,
no
be
reason for
empathetic,
it,
and maybe
really.
there's a reason they're coming up, but they're a fan.
Yeah.
They go to your shit. That's why I fucking hate Nikki Sixx. That guy's a dick.
Damn, just like that.
Every time, out of everybody I've met, everybody I've interviewed, and Shim hates it when I do this because Shim is good friends with Nikki Sixx.
Oh.
He's friends with him. Like, he's helped him out a lot. But I've told the story on Rockstar 101. Every time I've ever done an interview, he's just been an asshole.
Just like that, playing out.
Yeah, just a dick.
Well, I mean, when I think like that too, because I've seen videos of celebrities being dicks and stuff like that. But then, like, I think I try to get in their shoes, and I'm like, it's a difference when you're dealing with somebody that you can't even take a shit with somebody fucking, like Eminem said, being outside the fucking door.
Well, that's the thing.
Hey, man,
I give every celebrity at least one. Because everybody has a bad day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where a lot of people, they'll run into a celebrity and they're like, oh, that person's an asshole. Well, how many times did you meet them? What were they going through that day? They're normal people. They're going through things. Like, they have natural things in life that occur to them that you don't know about, that they're dealing with. Hell, look at Chadwick Boseman. That guy was an amazing human being regardless. Nobody knew that dude was going through cancer.
Until he passed.
Yeah, so it's just, you gotta treat people as if, well, I don't want to say as if they're going through bad stuff, but you can't look at things so negative.
Yep.
And you got to realize, hey, like, if this person's coming up because they listen to the Buzz Adams morning show, cool. If this person's going to be a dick to me, that's fine. And just don't do it in front of my kid. I mean, thankfully I've never had that.
Good. And I also feel like you said, it could almost work like in a reverse way. Like, you could have been on air that day and been like, dude, this is a fucking terrible show. Like, we're not doing good. Like, it's been a bad day at the office, and then you go to your kid's like recital or whatever, and some guy's like, bro, your morning show today, fucking loved it, bro.
Yeah,
and then
that's
all
happened.
of a sudden you're like,
oh, I guess we are doing good.
Yeah. And that's happened where you feel like you're doing a bad show, but then somebody that day comes up and they say something to you and they're nice about it, and it's like, well, thank you. Like,
dude,
that's why I encourage it. If you do. And it's for anybody on the morning show. All of us are open. Buzz, myself, Lisa, Joanna, we have no problems saying hi, having a quick conversation. I mean, I do realize that we do have things we need to do.
Yeah.
And that's where it can get difficult, is if I have something I need to do, I don't want to be a dick, but it's like, hey, I got to go do this other thing.
Is Buzz like that? Like, I've always thought, it's just because, like, the character that Buzz is. Like, is he that
About
type of
being
guy that,
open?
like,
he fucking loves it.
Like, if like
He loves it.
if a fan comes up to him and be like, "Hey, Buzz," blah blah blah.
Oh, he loves it. It's such an ego stroke for him.
Your dick, man,
there was a time when, we were going to a beer fest, and he and I rode with him, and he and I were checking in at the gate as they were letting us into the parking lot. And as we pulled away, the window was still down, and there's 2 security guards, and he heard one of them go, "Hey, do you know who that was?" And Buzz looks at me and he goes, like he was so happy. Like, that's the cool thing, and that's what I'm telling you. Like, I think I said this off the air of the podcast, that he's a child in the good and the bad. And in the good stuff, he still loves getting the compliments and getting recognized. He gets a kick out of that stuff.
That's awesome.
And that's one of the major positives of him. There's a lot of things in life where he just doesn't think twice about. Like, we were talking about how his house has kind of become a hotel. He never thinks twice about it. If you need a place to stay,
it's there.
There's
for
a
you
room.
guys.
I'm gonna hit him up.
Hey, tell him we're gonna go crash his house tonight and party.
Whenever my wife gets mad at me, I'm gonna hit up Buzz Adams.
Hey, can I come crash on your couch?
Hey, yo, Buzz.
he's probably got a spare room with a spare bed somewhere, man.
Brandon sent me.
Yeah, but it's cool that he has that kind of like, he's gotten to that point where he's comfortable with like being able to provide things like that to people that are around him. Like, hey, dude, like, I have this house. Like, if you need a place to stay, like, by all means, like, feel free, make yourself at home. Like, I do think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish Chris was like that.
Yeah, he's not like that.
Well, a lot of people could be like, dude, fuck no. Like, I'm going home. Like, figure it out.
No, he's super cool about it. He never questions it. It's immediate. If you got a place to stay, come stay with
That's
me.
awesome.
That's what's up, dude. All right,
Learn
so
from that, Chris, please.
damn, we had some good ass conversation.
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
We already hit 50 minutes on part 2.
Dude,
That's
whoa.
crazy.
we could do this shit.
All
We can
day.
do this all
He's got
day.
to go to work, though.
We
He's
can
gotta
do
go
a
to
part
work.
2 another time, guys. I got more
hell
stories
yeah,
to tell.
dude.
There you go.
Yeah, dude. For sure, we can always get another fucking podcast in because, like,
Or
me
have
and-
them come in while we do a live session. Or
Me and
something.
Misa talk about like how we know like the conversation's going good when like you fucking fly through 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And like you don't even realize.
You forget that you have to look down at the time and be like, "Oh shit."
It's the same thing with the morning show. Like, we'll realize, and that's my job, is to be on the clock.
Yeah.
And to, gotta
It's
break.
funny because all I
Gotta
hear is like
break.
Brandon's like, "We gotta go on break now."
Yeah.
Break
Now, bud.
And Brandon's like,
He's like,
"Okay."
are you guys watching the clock here, motherfuckers?
Yeah, I'm
Break
like,
time.
break.
But hey, it's because you're the one that's in control of that, so you have to like kind of like, hey guys.
He's the host. I'm the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the sense that I'm the one that has to make sure that
Yep.
everything is done on time and everything is done in place where it should be.
So real fast before we get into the 5 random questions and we
Yeah.
end this podcast, I want to ask you this because like you spent time in Florida, and I don't know if you listen to a lot of sports radio. But
oh hell yeah!
Do you know
I used
what
to
the-
listen to Dan Levitard all the time.
Hey, bro.
Dude, before he was syndicated, he was
my
like $7.90 the
God.
ticket. It was my
Yes.
favorite show
Look,
down there.
So
Loved
what
it.
you remind me
Still
of
do love it.
is fucking Mike Ryan, his producer, dude.
Yeah.
He's the guy that, dude, he pulls all the strings with Stu Gatz and them. Dude, those guys and that radio or that podcast or whatever it is now, because it used to be on radio more, but now they're kind of more like a digital. But I love those guys, dude.
Well, they have their whole podcast network now.
Yes, they have a podcast network. Mina Kimes is on there. Fucking,
That's probably like our number one
I
inspiration.
fucking
for
showed
podcast.
this
Yeah.
guy, Dan Levitard, because to me, I got inspired by kind of like Colin Cowherd a little bit, but like Joe Rogan. But my biggest inspiration was fucking Dan Levitard show, because that show like is a fucking theater of the mind, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never got to meet him though. But Colin Cowherd, I worked with him actually.
Really?
He worked in Portland.
Yes.
He worked
Yes, he's
at.
from that
he
part of
worked
the
on
country.
the sports station, and it was from there was when he jumped and made the leap over to ESPN.
And then he had the herd.
Yep.
And
Hey,
that-
Brandon's our bridge to him.
Fuck yeah, dude.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you know what?
You only
I'm
need
so-
2 degrees to get to Colin Cowherd.
I'm so fucking happy that he knows the Dan Levitard show, dude.
Yes.
Because
Oh,
a lot of-
I think it started right when I moved down there. I moved in 05.
Okay, so you got there and boom,
And
it was
you
fresh.
have, there's $7.90 the ticket and 560 WQAM. QAM was kind of the heritage sports station. You had, oh God, who were the guys on the air? It was, their whole lineup was just a bunch of old Jewish dudes. And it was hilarious because they were so funny, man. Oh, except Hank Goldberg. That guy, he kind of came off as a jerk. But the guy that was before, Neil, oh crap, I'm gonna space on this now. Neil Rogers, and he was like the guy down there. Like he was big time. And so you had QAM, and then you had $7.90 the ticket, and that's where Levitard started.
Yeah.
And I would record their show and put it on CD and listen to it.
Dude, that is wild.
That's how much I would listen to Dan Le Batard.
That's how good that fucking show is.
I remember when, before Mike Ryan was the producer, it was Mark Hochman. And Stu Gatz. And what was funny is this was when Le Batard was really rising up in ESPN. And all of a sudden, he would have to leave for an hour to go do something for ESPN for, let's say it's...
well, they have that highly questionable show.
Well, he's got highly questionable now, but what's the... pardon the interruption.
Yeah, PTI.
Yeah, so PTI, he would go do that with Wilbon or something.
Michael Wilbon.
So Stu Gatz would take over, and fucking dude is so lazy. He's like, but the way that they've developed that Stu Gatz personality has been brilliant. I mean, it's been amazing because back then it was just, this guy's just lazy. Now it's, well, he's lazy, but that's his
character. That's his thing.
Because they would start that hour of the show, and he's like, we're just there's a Stu Gatz, and we're just going to take your phone calls or whatever you guys want to talk about.
Take calls.
And I'm like, this dude didn't prep. Like, he doesn't have anything to talk about. That's why he's taking your phone calls. And it was the most awkward.
The laziest way to do radio.
But then that's when you get the best material ever. Like when
but it was so bad.
Yeah, dude. But no, like when you turn on sports radio, like you want a host that has a direction, and they're gonna.
Yeah, you need to have some guidance.
Not some guy that's just like, all right,
what do you guys want to talk about?
Phone lines are free. Light them up. Let's take your questions.
Yeah, you get that dude that calls up that wants to talk about his fantasy football team.
Exactly.
It's like,
he's
look, I play fantasy football, but I don't care about your team.
He's like, I got Pat Mahomes in a PPR league, and you're like, dude, he's a quarterback. PPR doesn't even matter. But anyway, and then they just asked
for Dak, the game he went out, he caught that touchdown.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, dude, I got
that shit is hilarious.
So I know how I was just talking about how nobody cares about your fantasy football team, but I had Dak Prescott this year.
Dude, he was tearing the fuck up.
But I also had Russell Wilson.
Hey, that's my QB, Russell and Tom Brady. And my friend, actually, as a matter of fact, we were watching the game last Sunday, and my father-in-law's. And as soon as the injury happened, he looks at me, he's like, fuck, can I have Tom Brady? I'm like, well, who do you got? He's got McCaffrey, who's also out. He's got some good depth. He's got some good wide receiver depth. So I'm like, well, I can pick and choose because you have no quarterback.
Yeah.
And he didn't think to draft the second quarterback. It's 6. It's kind of small.
Dude, that's a bitch-ass league, bro.
Well, because I'm in I've run the same 8-team league for about 13 years now.
Dude, Brandon, I will officially invite you to play in our fantasy football league next year. It's a 12-teamer PPR.
I'm in.
Dude, it's legit. It's gone on for the past 5 years. Everybody pays up, and it's competitive fantasy football.
If Brandon is in, I'm in too.
Dude, because my thing is like I don't let anybody in who doesn't know how to play fantasy. Because then at the end of the year, what happens is people stop playing.
Yeah.
And then those are free wins for other people.
I fucking hate that.
And I hate that because there's money on the line.
Yeah.
I started my league because my family had expressed interest, namely my mom and sister. So they're still in the league. They still play. And it's what I talk to my mom about daily at this point. So she had a really rough draft. Her team was like, she had Le'Veon, but she had all these Jets players. And I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Well, because I really kind of hosed everybody this year because I didn't set the draft until the day before the season started.
Oh, man.
I was really late behind everything. It's a free league though. So now I spent the first few weeks every day I leave work, I call my mom and I talk to her as I'm driving home. And one of the things that's taken a lot of those conversations over is who are we getting on the waiver?
Yeah, who's on the waiver?
What are
wire?
we doing?
Yep.
She picked up Robbie Anderson. She picked up Jonnu Smith. She picked up the Cardinals defense, but then Chandler Jones got hurt. So now she switched over to the Rams defense. Now, Mommy got a quarterback. Who did she have? Deshaun Watson was just laying eggs.
Yeah,
so she ended up picking up Justin Herbert. So...
And having all this knowledge with sports and stuff, has that helped you out with all this? Have you been like...
I think so. And a lot of it, I mean, that's the podcasts I listen a lot.
Yeah, I love sports podcasts.
Like the ESPN with Matthew Berry and stuff like that.
Fantasy football. Focus.
Fantasy football focus, the 06010.
060
I love listening to them.
Dude, those guys are brilliant, dude. Daniel Dopp, all those guys. Phil Yates, they're the shit, dude.
It's how I've been able to... pick up a lot of guys on the waiver that
Mike
are actually
Davis.
able to help. I like how I talked about nobody cares about your fantasy team, and we just talked about it for 10 minutes.
No, but it's true, dude. I love fantasy football, and like, it's different when you talk to somebody that actually plays fantasy because you can connect on a different level. I can tell Minas all about like how badass my draft is, and he's like,
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't.
He's
give a
you.
fuck.
I've learned
like
though,
that,
when it comes to fantasy football, I've learned that if you're happy with your draft, your team's gonna suck.
Yeah.
At least that's how it works for me. If I'm done
that's
with the
true.
draft and I'm like, look at this,
I'm
I got all these guys, and then I go like 1-12, and it's
See, I'm not at the level. Like I've done fantasy football a couple of times, but I think for me, it just takes so much time, especially just because it's still like individual players.
Well, and it started. I mean, it really started. With my mom. She was really getting into football. We're my family's Patriots fans, so we were obviously
you're a
able
Patriots fan
to.
too.
So we were able to. We and that's what makes the league difficult because everybody wants the damn Patriots. So with
Not
Gostkowski,
anymore.
was it? Yeah, no kidding. They don't have any really. They don't have anybody. I mean, Cam, but
Cam maybe, but even then.
man?
He's got the Rona, so no.
Oh yeah. True.
I'm telling you, your sleeper. Follow Damian Harris. He's going to be bigger than a lot of people are thinking because when I listen to Fantasy Football Focus, they talk about how, James White is the pass catching back or they're going to throw it to Rex Burkhead. They weren't paying attention to the Patriots during the preseason. I was. They were running a lot of passes to him. So he's in because the one thing that they're saying is, if James White's in the game, it's going to be a passing play. If Damian Harris is in the game, it's going to be a running play. The Patriots have started to realize that. So the one thing you're probably going to start seeing is they're going to change it so he is in on more downs, passing and receiving.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry,
Passing,
rushing
like
and
a
receiving.
And they
action
still
plays.
even have Sony Michel too. He kind of fell off almost this
Well,
year.
I mean, he had that huge day and then he got hurt. He's on IR. That's
Wait,
why they brought
while we're
Damian
on
Harris
this NFL topic, real quick, who is your Super Bowl pick? If you could pick one right now,
dude, this is so hard to do right now.
I know it's early, but if you could,
most people are like, the Chiefs. Because they brought back all that talent, but a lot of people forget how difficult it is to repeat because everybody's bringing their A game.
Yep.
And a lot of people forget that
Lamar Jackson's.
you got the Ravens, the Packers. I think the Packers might be. Seattle's defense. I don't think their defense will hold up.
Dude, Russell, they play Russell, bro. You can't count that guy out, dude.
Nope.
But see, that's where I'm going with the whole fantasy football thing. So I had both those dudes. I had Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott.
Dak.
And I never make trades because whenever I make a trade, somebody gets hurt. I made a trade. I traded Russell Wilson.
Oh my God.
Why would you do that?
Oh,
Because he was just on the bench racking up points.
That's the thing is I've got the ESPN league I'm in.
Yeah.
They were the top two quarterbacks.
Yeah, dude.
So I
He's
went
on
through
the bench
the
racking up.
league and I looked at it and I saw that my sister needs a quarterback. She was rocking Carson Wentz.
get out of here.
Poor girl.
So I told her, I was like, hey, I'm gonna send you a trade. And she said, oh, well, just send whatever and I'll accept it. Because the whole thing is I don't want to screw her over.
Yeah.
I want it to be a
It has
good
to be a
trade.
balanced
for both.
trade,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I sent
Russell.
and who was the tight end that I sent over there? It was Ingram from the Giants.
Brandon Ingram.
For Travis Kelce and Antonio Gibson, the running back for the Redskins. Because I wanted the number one tight end. And in the back of my brain, because I made this one trade years ago, and I got Andre Johnson, and I fucking trade raped this dude. Because it was after Mike Tolbert scored 3 touchdowns opening week, so everybody's like, oh, Mike Tolbert, when he wasn't even the main back in Carolina.
Yeah, he was just getting the goal line work.
He just fell into the end zone 3 times. So I made this trade, and I was like shining in this trade. And then Andre Johnson pulled his hamstring, and he was out like the rest of the year.
You're just like,
So I'm like,
damn it.
God. So when that happened with the Cowboys, is I was in our kitchen and my wife and I were watching the game and she never really pays attention. It'll be on and every now and then, but she's really involved in this game. So as she's sitting there, all of a sudden I hear, I think he's hurt. Oh my God, is that an injury? That came later. She goes, is that her? Is that it? Oh my God, is that his shoe? Is that his shoe? And she goes, did his shoe fall off? And so I went over there. And then you look at Dak, and I'm like, my gut, and so this is how awful I feel, and apparently how my brain operates. My first thought was, I fucking did that to the guy.
Because
I made the trade, and somehow the universe hurt him, which I feel awful for. Because if you know Dak Prescott, he's
Never hurt.
He's never hurt, but he's also just an amazing human being.
He's a good guy.
Like, that's one of the things that I really have props for that dude is when he came out and spoke out about mental illness and depression and things like that. That's something I gravitate towards, man. If you're able to talk about that stuff, that's a big deal, man.
Especially when you're in that position where you're supposed to be the machismo, like, nothing bothers me. I play football. Like, I'm tough. You know what I mean? And then that guy comes out and is like, dude, like, mental health is something you need to fucking think about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And seeing that shot of him with the tears in his eyes,
with the towel
being carted off.
Yeah.
Just it's gut wrenching to me. So,
Yep.
Dak, I know you're hearing this, man. I'm telling you right now, we wish you nothing but a speedy recovery and the best of luck. And I apologize. I will never. Well, no, I didn't trade him away. I kept him.
Keep him.
But your trade.
My trade, yeah. See, that's the thing. So, because I went from having the top 2 quarterbacks in the league to then having to get Ryan Tannehill off waivers.
Hey,
Who, by the way,
yeah,
if
the
you
Dolphins
want
are still doing pretty good.
He's a Titan.
Oh shit, I forgot.
He's a Titan.
But if you want a hint, they looked it up on Fantasy Football Focus. Since he took over Week 7 last year, he's the 3rd highest scoring quarterback
For the franchise.
for fantasy football points.
Yeah,
Wow.
overall.
Since Week 7 of last year,
Top scoring
He's the top
quarterback.
3. He's
doing
he's a top 3 quarterback in that time.
Yep. Dude, I love fantasy football, dude. I fucking do. And like I nerd out about it. And that's why I have that 12-team league, because I found that many people who love to play. And honestly, this year I was kind of concerned, dude. I was like, I don't think we should play because
I think that's why it took me so long to get it started.
Yeah, I didn't set my draft till super late. And I was like, dude, COVID's gonna ruin this shit for like somebody. Like somebody's gonna draft like fucking somebody like Patrick
Newton.
Mahomes, and then in a big game he's gonna get COVID, and then boom. That's it.
It happened with Cam Newton, man.
Yeah.
So, but that's something that ESPN was really cool with, is that they allowed you to change your rosters if you wanted and add IR spots, just in case.
Yeah, dude.
So, because I'm not my team, my first pick was Saquon Barkley. How'd that go?
Michael Thomas over here, dude.
I had Austin Eckler. Hurt.
Gone.
Dak was my quarterback.
Gone.
God.
But I'm still winning that fucking league.
There you go.
I told you,
Yeah,
I'm
you see,
competitive.
that's a testament.
I'm going to
to
win that league, dude.
Dude, that's a testament. Like in a good league with a lot of good teams, you're not winning. You know.
I don't know, dude. You know what I was thinking when you said that, like, because of the trade, you think that's how Prescott got hurt?
Oh, dude, the gods hate me when it comes to stuff like
Well,
that,
for
man.
me,
and I feel
I'm
bad that I brought that shit on Dak Prescott. Like,
But
I'm
it's funny,
sorry,
they
dude.
just not made the trade.
That's how I think about. I'm a Chargers fan, man. I've been a Chargers fan for a very long time.
Dude,
I met
Justin
Ladainius
Herbert's gonna be
Tomlinson
good.
when I was like 16 or 17, and I didn't even know who he was. And my stepdads were like, "Dude, that's the guy that broke the record for the most rushing yards against UTEP."
against UTEP.
And I was
at
like,
that
no
game.
shit. So I started watching him, and I fell in love with him, and Phillip Rivers and
Drew Brees back in the day. He was
Yeah, it was
before he
it was
hurt
a
his
shit.
shoulder.
But the thing is like, because it's the Chargers, you don't get here in El Paso. You don't watch those games. They don't play them on TV
Yeah.
unless they're playing Monday night or Thursday night
Or the Cowboys.
or Sunday night. Yeah, or
You gotta
the
get
Cowboys.
You got to get the primetime game. Yeah.
But the thing was for me is like every time I watched them play, they would lose. Like even if like
you superstitious? Do you
yeah,
stop
and I would
watching
think
them?
to myself like I would go on YouTube or something, try and watch them live, and like every time I'd see them, they'd lose. They'd be winning and then they'd lose, or even till now, they were this last game where against the Saints when they played the Saints. They were close.
They blew the lead.
They blew the lead.
Did a 17-point lead. In that game.
And for me, I was just like, yo, and it happens. I wasn't watching the game, and I was like, dude, they're winning right now. Let me go check it out. And till this day, it still happens. So
Yeah, I get the same.
I love the Chargers, but I can't watch you guys.
Same
'cause
kind of
fucking A.
superstitions. It's my wife isn't allowed to watch games with me because she makes the Patriots lose. When the Patriots were playing the Falcons in the Super Bowl, this was when we were first dating, and she was over at my apartment, and she's over.
She was there with the Falcons game.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so the
God bless.
Patriots are getting their asses kicked.
28-3.
And I'm like, dude. And so eventually she told me, she's like, I'm going to leave at half. I'm going to watch half with you, and then I'm going to go watch half with my family. Man,
The minute
she left was when the Patriots started to score. Like seriously, she didn't leave at halftime. She left at the almost the end of the third quarter, which is when it was 28-3.
Yeah.
Then Patriots play the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and they lost. I watched that game with her. The following year, Patriots play the Rams. I watched it by myself, and they won.
Wow.
that proves it right there. That's proof, guys.
Proof.
I blame her too because she washed my jacket, my Patriots jacket. She wore it when the Patriots beat the Steelers in the playoffs. She wore my Patriots jacket. This is when we were first dating. And then she took it home and washed it.
Oh.
And I'm like, you just washed
oh,
off
my
the winning. What are you doing?
And look at him now.
And she thought I was joking.
You're
I'm
a
like,
devil
no,
woman.
No,
Tom Brady's gone.
you don't do that.
Cam Newton's got the Rona.
Yeah, it's terrible on here.
It's crazy how this just developed into a full-on fucking NFL and fantasy.
I love it, dude. I love it,
podcast
dude.
right there at the end.
That's
what's up.
The only one that could do it is Brandon. Everybody else is
Dude, I'm
here.
so here for this conversation, dude. I love that shit.
I'm ready to go for another 4 hours. Because of that.
All right,
We'll do a part two sometime, man.
Yeah.
let's
When
do,
you guys are hurting for guests, let me know. I mean, I live maybe 5 minutes down the street.
Hey,
Oh,
there it is.
There it is.
There you go.
That's why when I
We
looked
have
it
a
up-
list of guests, but we could just jump you up anytime you
Yeah,
want.
whenever you
Hey,
want.
you want to come back tomorrow?
You want to come back after work?
We'll watch the games live. How about
That would actually be pretty entertaining.
That would be pretty cool.
All right, so let's do the 5 random questions and we'll wrap this shit up. Fucking dude, we've went over an hour.
Yeah,
on
that's
the first
good.
half. On the second half. That's good, dude. That's how you know.
Yeah.
Flying. Okay, guys. So 5 random questions. What we do here is we bring on our guest, which in this case is Brandon, and we ask him 5 random questions to kind of get to know them a little bit better. So, are you guys ready for 5 random questions? Misa, are you ready?
Yes.
Go.
Let's go.
Brandon?
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Okay, question number 1. How many emails are in your personal email inbox? So I'm going to scroll over to my Yahoo app.
Total or,
Yes,
or
total.
unread?
Unread.
Unread.
Okay, so
Oh my god, dude! The last
Dude.
time we did this was
last
what,
time,
episode 13.
Yeah, I had like something like 35,000. Right now I'm at 42,453 unread emails.
Damn, I'm at almost 16,000.
Unread?
Unread.
God bless.
16,000.
I'm at 14.
I don't.
Yeah,
I'm
I opened
Wait,
my
I
mail.
have 2 personal emails. Should I add them together?
Yeah.
'Cause I have work and I have 2 other emails.
yeah.
Yeah,
Add
we'll
them
do it.
together. Whoa.
1. I can't take the notifications. Like that's the thing.
Dude, I hate it. I just
if
turn
I
it off.
see them,
I just turn it off.
I delete the emails. I just
Yeah.
go through.
For me, I just feel that like email is just like dead already. Like it's
Not
old
even.
school. Like,
Well,
I mean, when it comes to
no.
businesses, that's all it is. It's like,
Email.
oh, send it.
Yeah,
to
when you're in a
email.
work environment.
In work
it's
environment,
email.
but
It's a professional way of communicating with
But
somebody.
yeah, dude, like I have experience.
I have 2 unread emails.
That's it?
Yeah.
I have 14.
One of them is probably me.
Okay, so okay, so all this means is that my email address has been shared liberally to all these fucking like websites that are just bombarding my shit. I have 42,000.
That's like
unread.
Buzz's email, man.
Ridiculous, dude. Jesus Christ.
Because he only has his work email, and so that's where he signs up for everything. So when he comes back from vacation in a week,
Boom.
he's going to have thousands of unread emails.
that is crazy.
Okay.
And then
Like,
people
I feel
wonder-
like I don't have time for that shit.
But then people wonder why when he comes back. Like, oh, you didn't see my email? I sent it last Wednesday.
like-
Well, because it's buried beneath 1,500 other emails, man. He's not going to see that.
yeah, hell yeah.
But you know what? I've gotten into that where like I'm waiting for an email from someone, and I just forget that I don't check my emails, and then I look and there's like 15,000 emails, and then I go like, and it's just like 1,000 in one day, and I was like, holy fuck, you know. And I'm waiting, I'm looking for this email, and it takes me 3 days to find it, and then by the time I found it, it's too late, and I'm out of a job.
You
Expired.
lost your job.
Yeah, it's like
job
done.
offer.
Question number 2, Brandon. Do you like spicy or regular ketchup better? Or if you don't
Spicy. I hate regular ketchup.
there you
Regular
go.
ketchup is
Whataburger.
disgusting.
Whataburger.
Yes, that's
Whataburger.
the only kind of ketchup
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
ever
You
eat.
know they
So
sell
what
it
you-
at Walmart?
Oh, they do?
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
Sell it
yeah.
at
Yeah,
Walmart?
you can take it to your house, man.
Yep.
That's what I got.
But of course, we get so much when we're there. I
I'm
don't
over
need it.
here like
Yeah.
collecting their shit,
Yeah.
asking for extra.
More.
You just look for the black packet, man.
Yeah.
Just ask them, hey, let me get about 3 or 4.
Let me get the box.
Especially when I go to work and I have lunch and I like to take their ketchup. It's like, dude, packet already set
Let's
to go.
go.
Yeah, that's the only ketchup.
All right.
I'll eat.
Seems like
Whataburger, congratulations, you got me to
Yeah.
eat ketchup.
Seems like we're all on the same page with that one. So
Shout out to
question
Wa-
number 3.
Don't
shout out
don't
to
say anything
Whataburger.
about steak pitos because I'm gonna walk out. This
Do you like
bitch.
steak pitos?
Bitch, shut the hell
Like
up.
Dude,
What?
no, we got to remember, he's not native.
Oh,
El
he's not
Paso.
native.
He's not.
Yeah,
So,
what is this?
Steak Pitos was a...
Help this white boy out. What?
Okay, so
Yeah.
Steak Pitos
You don't
was
want
like
to
a-
hear about steak pitos.
Steak Pitos was like a Subway, like a local Subway that was super fire, and there's still one on the east side. I highly recommend
Yeah.
you go
Yeah,
get.
there was like 5 of them
Yeah.
like 10 years ago, and now there's like
Just
only
the one?
one because they
Misa-
suck so bad.
Yeah,
that's
Misa
why.
hates on him, and he tells me not to bring him up in the podcast, and then he brings it up in the podcast.
Because I know your ass and you do it on
No, I
purpose.
wasn't
to
going
piss me off.
to. We've already
do
been
it
on
on
here for an hour and 40 minutes.
No,
I have
dude,
not brought
no.
it up.
Yeah, because now
And
we're in
at
the final
very
thoughts.
end, Joe's like,
Dude, this motherfucker has done it enough to where like he does it so I could get mad enough to where he could kick me
When
out.
Next time we have you on the podcast, I'm buying steak pitos for us.
I'm down.
You can
Cool.
eat those.
Yeah,
you can eat those
whatever the
goldfish if
fuck
you
you
want.
want.
Dude,
Or it
that's
could
all I
be a-
get. You see this? This is all I get.
Or
Being
it could be a
hospitality.
punishment if you guys do a bet. You got to
Oh,
eat steak pitos.
yeah,
if you
there we
win,
go.
you get it.
I love it.
dude, I can never imagine a life
eating.
where steak Pitos would be a punishment.
No,
Yeah.
your punishment would be like something from Chico's that you don't like.
Eat a home cooked meal, Chris.
Hey, thank you. Yes.
All right, question number 3. Do you sleep with the TV on, Brandon?
No.
Okay, thank
Well,
God.
it depends. At
You fall
night,
asleep with it on?
No, at night. Like I'll have my tablet and I'll be zoning out to that a little bit. But I got to have complete darkness
Dude.
to fall asleep at night. But
Me
during
too.
the day, I'll have the TV on. As I'll get home from work at 10, go to sneak in a quick nap, and I have different shows that are my go-to shows because I've already seen them. So I click that on. They're still entertaining, and I don't mind falling asleep to it. It's
You're like, I already know what happens.
Right now, it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
So
I love that show, dude. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I fall asleep. When I go to sleep at night, I have to have TV on. And good thing I
used to. I used to.
I can't do that, dude.
I set up my TV to turn off by itself, and you know what's always playing? That 70s show.
Dude.
Yeah.
And dude,
always just on there,
I
and
used
I'm
to do
like,
that too. I used to do that too until I moved in with my wife, and she kept saying, "Turn that shit off."
See, I'm in
I
bed.
turned that shit off.
Usually, I'm in bed about 3 hours before my wife.
There you go.
Because you have to wake up
comes to
super
bed.
early.
Yeah, I go to bed at 7.
Yeah.
Really? Every day on the dot? Or do you kind of
Well,
stay up and
I mean,
party till 8?
Like one of the things that I've always had trouble with is sleep. Like in my adult life, for some strange reason, man.
Me too, man.
And that, again, going back to all the stuff we were talking about earlier, like with anxiety and depression, these other things, sleep was a big factor in that. So diet, exercise, and sleep are so goddamn important to people, man, and they don't realize that. So the first thing you got to do is get on a schedule. You have to. Every night, same time. But the problem is for me, I'm not going to go to bed at 7 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to get up at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. But at least during the week, I've been able to, I go to bed at 7. But if I need to stay up, I can. As long as you have a fairly consistent sleep schedule, you're able to deviate from it a little
some
bit.
days you can like take a little
On
bit
Thursdays,
less off,
Fridays?
you know what I mean?
Like for me, like I have the same issue. I have to clock in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the latest I wake up is 2. Usually it's like 1:45 in the morning. I don't like to rush.
Damn, you're up before us.
Yeah. So when I get to work and stuff, I get out of work, I come home, I take like an hour nap. And then at night, usually my plan is to go to bed at 8 when I put my kids to sleep. But to me, it's like I put my kids to sleep, they fall asleep. But for me, there's something in my brain that's like
it's party time, baby. Let's
no,
go.
not just
Now
that,
you get
but it's
alone time.
like not just
can
not
hang
just
out.
alone time, but it's kind of like it's only 8 o'clock. Like I feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm tired. I'm sleepy, but I have to go down and at least watch the news or watch my Netflix show.
Get on Warzone.
Play on Warzone, and then when I do that, it's like next thing you know, I look and it's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, if you can get yourself to do it, just go lay in bed and do it at the same time every night. Keep the
That's the
lights
first
off.
step.
And it's like anything. You have to work in a progression. You're not just naturally going to form a complete.
I've gotten to a
sleep
point where
schedule.
like I have to choke myself out. Like, I lay down there and then I wait till my kids fall asleep and then it's just like, all right, night Misa.
No, I really do.
I hope you
think
don't have like David Carradine. Man.
Yeah, no. What you need to do is pay attention.
You need to
to what he's
meditate.
telling
You need to meditate.
and it's all about progression.
I'm just scared that I won't let go of myself sometimes.
Yeah, because
Like your hand locks in that position.
I have to have my room pitch fucking black to fall asleep, bro.
Yeah.
Pitch black. Like I can't even see my hand in front of me. Like it has to be that dark.
He wears those
Yeah.
things you put over your eyes.
Dude,
He's
I
got
will,
his
dude. Because
face
if
mask.
any little fucking like light or anything, I fucking wake up, dude. I'm a terrible sleeper. So, anyways, guys, question number 4.
These
What?
conversations just keep going so
Yeah,
long.
they just keep going.
I love it.
Question number 4: what type of socks do you prefer? Are you a low cut guy?
Low cut.
You like okay. I like
really?
like both. I like both. I can fuck with both.
No,
It
you gotta have
depends,
low cut black.
Like
That's it.
Low cut, no show, or
No
just
show.
Like,
Look,
No show.
you got the show, but as long as it's low cut and they gotta be black, you're not gonna catch me on
Yeah,
some
but
white
see,
socks.
for me, that's how it was before. But now that I usually wear boots, it's like I can't wear
Well,
those low cut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
because if
I'm
you're wearing
sweaty.
boots, you got to wear something.
You gotta
that's
wear
gonna
the
cover
higher
your
ones.
ankle. Yeah.
I get them all the way to it's like to my thigh.
Those are the schoolgirls' ties.
Buying some tights.
The tights.
Them tights. You know? And they make me feel like I could run fast for some reason. I don't know why. It's like aerodynamic. It's just like ready to get this shit done.
Okay, question number 5, final question of the 5 random questions here. If you can only eliminate one genre of music, Brandon, which music is it going to be?
I'm
Or which
eliminating
genre?
one.
Yeah.
Normally, I would say country, but
Breaking my heart, bro.
that would have. Here's the thing. That would have been my go-to.
Hard rock.
But
Like heavy
I can't
metal.
say that anymore just because my mom listens to it, and I don't want to take that from her.
Heavy metal.
No.
Gospel music.
The blues.
See, that's
fuck
I don't.
with the
I don't think I can get rid of any music.
trap.
All music is necessary.
Yep.
That's true. That's true.
Because
All
I
music is
think I
necessary.
think that music brings a a lot of different things to people, and it depends on what the kind of music is.
Reggaeton.
Yeah, get rid of that shit.
Our
actually.
girl.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Actually, get reggaeton the fuck out of here.
Hey, it gets
Who
to
invited
parties.
them?
Hey, you go to parties, clubs. What do girls want to hear? Reggaeton. They want to dance. They're not going to be
that's
dancing to Metallica.
Dude, I'm a
Girl,
married
that's
40-year-old
quinceañera.
man. I ain't going to no fucking
Dude, he's
club.
not going to the club for girls, bro. Priorities. Come on. So
No, I mean, I guess I don't know. I think that all genres of music are necessary.
they all have their
Important.
space and time.
And that's a real douchey way for me to answer that question
Yeah.
too.
I'll say that
That's
I would.
why we asked it.
Yeah, I would say I would kind of probably like want to eliminate like. I don't know. Like I feel like there's some dubstep or some heavy electronic music.
No,
that
for
we
me
can
it
do
would be like
without.
heavy metal.
Yeah.
Like heavy metal to
What's
where
heavy?
like it's just like when they're like
Oh, you mean like death metal?
Death metal, yeah. That's a little
Please
too much.
don't ever scream into that microphone. Not again.
Yeah, death metal's rough, man.
Yeah.
That's definitely an acquired taste. I've never been able to get into
like
it.
I get, like I want to like whatever
Gives me anxiety.
music I like, I want to be able to listen to it at any time of the day, even if it's like the first song I hear in the morning. Mm-hmm. It's just like death metal is not gonna happen.
That's
I
not
can't
gonna
I can't
happen.
have a cup of coffee while I'm listening to that
I can
shit.
already guess what you're listening to. CCR.
Yeah, CCR is my favorite band.
CCR
so.
goes hard. He showed me a bunch of different songs this past weekend in Ridoso. We went up, and I was like,
This
I
guy
didn't-
was amazed. This guy
I
was
didn't
like,
even know they
"That's
made those
also
songs.
CCR.
I was like, these are all in like commercials, movies. You know,
and I
my
was just like, you're welcome, son.
yep.
Here, I'll take this gift and run with it, brother. All right, guys. So, episode 47, Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast, featuring our boy Brandon Coates.
Wait, is this the outro already?
No, this is our final thoughts. So,
Wow, already? I
final thoughts on the
didn't think we were
podcast,
good here.
guys. We're going to go around. Everybody's going to give their final thoughts, and we'll wrap this up. Joe, the producer, what'd you think of today's podcast, man?
Today
Final
was
thoughts.
I loved it. Thank you so much for coming, Brandon.
Not a problem, man.
We had so much fun. You defeating Buzz on all those challenges.
Hey.
It's a breath of fresh air, you know. And I love all the insight you gave us and all you had to talk about. It was fun.
Hell yeah. Misa, final thoughts?
Definitely, Brendan, dude. I'm really happy that you actually answered back. I seriously thought you were one of those guys that, you know, like how we talked about, you know, when people or fans come and hit you up, you know,
You just get ignored.
yeah. And the thing
Left
is,
on
like
red.
for us, like we said, 2020 for me and Chris, we've called it the shoot your shot 2020.
Yeah.
And
You're stuck at
that's what
home, do it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for giving us your time. I know you're a busy guy. It was fun. I knew it was going to be a good one. I didn't know it was going to be this good. I appreciate you very much. Everybody listening, guys, make sure if you guys don't listen to the Buzz Adams Morning Show, make sure to take a listen, and then you'll know who's here right now and why we invited him. Thanks again,
we do
man.
have our podcast too.
Oh, and a podcast, all your podcasts. I'll let him introduce all that stuff to you guys. But everybody listening, guys, thank you so much for the support. Make sure to stay safe and stay fresh. Chris, it's always a good one. Joe, you did it right, better than yesterday. Keep it up.
Way better than yesterday.
Yes, thank you.
That's what's up, dude. Thanks, Misa, for that. So, Brandon, final thoughts on today's podcast, man?
Well, I'll do the quick plug if you guys want.
Yeah,
so I
do
do
the
have
plug.
Rockstar 101. That's the one that I do with Shim. He's the former lead singer of Sick Puppies. You've heard Sick Puppies before.
Yes,
if anybody
you have,
out there is like, who
definitely.
are Sick Puppies? You've heard it.
You have.
I remember I was in Walmart one time and their song Maybe came on.
Yep.
And I recorded it and I sent it to him. And then afterwards, I talked to him about it. He's like, "Yeah, people do that shit all the time." Like they
that's
they
fun.
send a clip of when they hear
And
it.
for everybody listening, we will have all these
Links.
all these links and stuff up for you guys too.
Yeah, you can find it. You can find it Spotify, Apple, Google, doesn't matter. Shim's YouTube page. That's where you can actually see the videos and stuff. The Buzz Adams Morning Show also has a podcast. It's basically kind of a condensed version of the show. So if you want to hear Buzz not knowing who Steve Byrne is, I still remember.
Fucking
go
hilarious.
to Thursday's episode at 17 minutes and 5 seconds.
Hey, damn, down to the minute.
Because I wanted to make, like, one of the things that I frequently do is I listen back to critique myself, but to also make sure that I'm being the best person I can be. Like, I don't want to be a dick.
Yep.
So when something like that happens, I wanted to go back and listen. Like, okay, so was he really pushing it, or was my brain making that up because maybe I was in a pissy mood, or
right.
maybe there's something else going on? No, he was being a dick. Like, I listened back to it. He's being a dick. But no, for final thoughts and stuff, I appreciate you guys having me in. This was a ton of fun. I have no problems coming in and doing it again.
Hell yes.
We'll spend another 3 hours here if you
Hey.
guys want.
Put,
We'll
put in a good word for Lisa and Buzz out there and Nico.
Absolutely.
have him come out here as well, man.
Dude, if
It'd be
Nico
awesome.
comes, he might not leave. So.
Oh man,
That's
not
okay,
a problem.
man.
Yeah, that's not.
He
a
could take
problem
over
at all.
Joe's job. That's okay.
All right, and I'm out of a job. God bless.
Damn, he just threw Joe under the table like that.
Nah, just
man.
kidding. Joe's our social media guy, man. It's because
Ooh,
of Joe that people follow us and listen, man. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely put a good word in for you guys. This was a ton of fun. I love coming and doing stuff like this, and especially you guys being here in El Paso doing this thing. It's really cool because El Paso's a cool town. If anybody ever wants to reach out to me, if you ever have any questions or anything, you always can. You can find me on the easiest ways are probably Instagram or Reddit. And it's The Real Brandalorian is my screen name.
I like that.
The Real
Brandalorian.
Brandalorian. BRANDOLORIAN.
I love that shit.
So it's The Real Brandalorian. So if you ever have any questions about radio, apparently fantasy football, because we can talk that all you want.
yeah.
But also more importantly too, if you're ever going through some shit, if anybody needs help with anything, if you're noticing depression, anxiety, sleep issues, whatever, I'm an open door, and I'm more than happy to help people because I've been through it. I still go through it on a daily basis, and I don't want anybody to think they're alone because you're not.
Yeah, you're not. You're never alone.
And that's one of the difficult things is taking that step. So if anybody ever feels the need, even to ask a random ass question, if you want to know which socks that I like, if I want like ankle or knee high, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and ask me that.
Hey,
stuff,
shout out
man.
to Brandon, man.
Oh, yeah.
We need
Shout
a
out
lot
to
more people like you. I think that's amazing, especially for somebody in your shoes, on what you're doing in a job. The fact that you're willing to listen to anybody like that, I think that's fucking awesome.
Let's give him a round of applause.
That's a very big deal in my shoes.
yeah.
I think you're a hero. You're a legend for that.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
But the one thing I do have to say though is if you've reached out to us through Facebook on like the KLAQ page or things like that, sometimes those messages we don't see them. So that's why I want to make sure, like, if you are trying to reach out to us, you can reach out to me directly. Because I was flipping through today. We were going through our emails and how many unread emails you have. There was a shit ton of messages just because nobody's had time to really go through them.
That makes me feel even more lucky at the fact that you were able to reply back.
Yeah, you shot your shot at the right account.
Right, right at the right time.
No,
I think it was because his wife was there, and he's all like, "Hey, somebody messaged you. You better answer back." And Brandon's like, "Fuck,
Who's that?
Misa? Is that a girl? Who is this?
Is that a church? What the fuck is that?
Is it Catholic?
It's a Catholic.
I go to Catholic church now. It's all in Spanish. I don't know what they're doing.
No sé. You don't know any Spanish though, real quick. You don't
I'm
really-
learning it. My wife was born in Juarez. She moved here when she was 6. Her mom only speaks Spanish, so when I'm around the family, I'm learning more. I can understand it a lot better, but speaking it is still like I'll mispronounce something, and I never hear the end of it from my wife and kid. Because with my kid, she obviously speaks both.
Yeah.
And she also is in dual language
there you
in
go.
school.
That's good.
So that's one of the big things that we're pushing with her as well. So I'm trying.
There you go.
I use my Google Translate app a lot, where if I'm sending a text to my mother-in-law, I type it in English and then it translates it for me. Or if my kid brings home Spanish homework, you take your phone,
You just scan
it. No, you don't even just hold it over it, and it translates in real time.
Whoa.
It's
Nice.
fucking nuts, man! And you can do it with all kinds of different languages. So I'll be looking at a word problem in Spanish, and it translates it to English. Yeah,
That,
and
now this
that
gives me an
helps.
idea of getting guests from like around the world. Now we don't even have to like speak the
The
language.
language was translated live.
Speaking of that, we were trying to set up an interview with The Who,
Whoa.
the band
Oh,
from
wow.
Mongolia, but it was going to be too tough. Like it was going to be over Zoom, and it was going to be, we would ask the question, the translator would then translate it, and then they would answer it, and then it would come back. And so we're still going to try to do something with them. But we had them in the studio one time. Those guys were cool as hell.
That's what's
man.
up, dude. Fuck yeah.
Those guys were super cool.
Hell
Hey,
yeah.
if you guys want Chuck D. Broder, that guy's my best friend.
Dude, Chuck's hilarious, man.
Hey,
Chuck is
Chuck's
great.
a man, dude.
Yeah,
Chuck is
dude.
a man.
Go back and check out this episode, or Chuck's episode, guys, if you guys haven't checked it out. That shit was a lot of fun.
Episode 45, guys.
Episode 45. But yeah, Brandon, thank you for being on here. I
Thanks
do
for having
have
me, man.
one final little question for you.
Yeah, long
And
answer
it's
then
just,
coming.
it's just kind of like a personal question from me, and I know kind of the podcast is kind of would want to ask this, but what do you think we can get better at as a podcaster? Like, what should we like work on improving? Just coming from somebody that's in the radio.
business.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you guys got a really good setup here. I would pay attention to what you're saying more, as in filler words. I hear like a lot.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
my
something
problem,
that pops up frequently. And I do the same thing. Like, that's something people naturally do, where if you're thinking and something comes up where you're saying, have you ever played the game?
No.
You give somebody 15 seconds, you give them a topic, they have to speak for 15 seconds on that topic
Without
saying And I do this with my kid because my kid says like all the time. I think that's probably why it stuck out to me, because it's something that I'm getting with her about, where I'm telling her, avoid saying that because it makes you sound dumb. No, I'm kidding.
No, it does. It does. And like in some ways, like right now for me, it'd always be like when it would be our final thoughts. For me, I'd always be like, and actually right now, I was trying really hard not to say, you know, like.
But it takes time. It's not a light switch. That thing's never going to go. Yeah,
meditate.
That it's never going to go away immediately. It's just something that you need to be aware of. It's a crutch, and it's something that I've had to deal with. I mean, I've had tons of crutches.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, that's a great critique right there.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely.
something that like I've tried to work on.
Yeah.
Is just being more concise with my words. And when earlier we were listening to some of the podcasts, and there was one part where I was fumbling all over myself, like blah, 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 yeah, you know what I mean. So I'm really glad that that's something that we can improve on, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, because
who else would have pointed that out?
Nobody else has pointed that out to us.
Yeah.
But it's something that is really important for sure.
It is.
Well, but the thing you need to be careful about is, as you're almost trying to tell yourself, don't say like, or don't say or don't say you need to be careful about then sounding like a robot.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be too planned.
Like you're reading off a
best
script or
vibe
something.
that you guys have going is, we're at what, an hour and a half now here on part two?
Part two.
Because it's been a fun, natural conversation. And you don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
That's what makes this good. That's what makes it entertaining.
It's almost like the authenticity. Like
It's a conversation. It's
Exactly.
like with the Buzz Adams Morning Show, where it's Barstool Talk Daily is what we call it. So it's truly, what would it be like if the four of us were at a bar hanging out, shooting the shit? It's kind of the same thing with you guys. It's three friends. You maybe have a guest in or you don't, but it's just a natural conversation that you would have. We spent 20 minutes on fantasy football because there was something
out of nowhere.
There was something
And we
that we
spent
were
like an
interested
hour
in.
in our break doing all this.
Yeah. And so that's it's something to be aware of, but make sure to anticipate that. And it's most likely going to happen. Is one of the difficult things is, as you're learning broadcasting and going through a lot of this stuff, people will warn you, hey, look out for this, but they don't tell you about the next step that might affect that. And it takes you by surprise, or you don't catch it. I had a real tough time when I was on the air in South Florida. I sucked. I was the night guy. And the only reason I was the night guy was because I was also the production director, and they were able to save money. I was terrible. I'm willing to admit I did not sound good. I was too planned. It's the new 93 Rock, South Florida's pure rock state. It sounded awful.
I mean, even your voice changes.
Monotone.
See, it was not good. Except I think I normally would try to go more down like this.
Well, Brandon, like I've said, like, thank you. Like, what you said is like the best like shit that I've ever heard, and like I hope everything goes out well for us. And like, thanks, man. Appreciate
Not a problem. But that's just be wary of it, but also know that even if it doesn't, or if it does happen, you're not a failure. It doesn't mean that you've done it wrong. It means you're progressing naturally.
Yep.
And
It's just that you suck, but you could get better.
no, it just means you're human. And it's one of those things that if you can anticipate things that are going to go wrong, even if they still happen, that's life. You can't anticipate everything, but still learn from it.
Yep. Yeah, I think the most important part is, like you said, you got to take the lesson from it,
Yeah.
If you don't learn anything, then...
Because I used to be horrible at that, where if I was trying to do something and I would anticipate what could go wrong and that thing still went wrong, I'm like, I'm a failure. Like this, I can't, like, how did I let that happen? I planned for that, and it still happened.
Still happened, yeah.
You can't plan for everything. You never know what's going to happen. So
Like
even
those
as
shitty segments that Chris comes up with.
So even if you're planning, hey, I need to watch myself and how I say or or like, and Brandon even told us, make sure that doesn't turn you into a robot, and you still start, and you kind of sound like a robot a little bit. You just got to roll with it,
Yeah.
and realize it's not the end of the world, and just and adapt.
And adapt. Next time will be better, hopefully.
Hey, dude, you know what? I'm feeling
always.
really good about this. Thank you. Thank you, Brandon.
problem.
Hell yeah, Brandon.
That's
Fuck
a really
yeah.
good one, man, because without us even thinking about it, like we have thought about it. You hear it. We go over the the video and stuff, and we hear ourselves and
Start a
things
counter.
and
Play the drinking game.
Oh, dude,
Hey,
I would
there
be
you go.
completely wasted by the end of one
we
episode.
wouldn't have enough beers.
I started doing that with my kid when she would
Well, you had your-
tell me
your
something.
drink-
Not the drinking game. Where I would
Take a
count
shot.
them, and it would frustrate her early on because she wasn't able to fix it. And then that's when I had to tell her, that's fine. You're not going to fix it immediately. So as she's
time.
talking like this, and then like that, and then and I'm just kind of doing this in front of her, and she would get really frustrated. So then that's when I would have to kind of let her know.
Stop it, Dad.
Yeah. So then I would have to let her know it's this is why we do this.
Yeah.
This is why we learn. This is why we have to change. If I'm the same person I was yesterday, I didn't get the best out of yesterday.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, you didn't, like you said, you always got to take that lesson, man, and that's where we're at too. So, thank you again, dude. My final thoughts on today's podcast. Number one, thank you for being on here, Joe. You're turning into a fine producer over there, man.
I'm proud of you.
I'm
Joe.
gonna start waking up super early in the morning, catch them, see what they're doing.
There you
and
go.
It's even better because it's live. I work from home now, so
early, just listen to the podcast.
Yeah, dude, it's on demand. You don't
Yeah.
need to wake up early.
Yeah,
Nah, but it's cool because you could interact when they go live.
yeah, when they go live. On the
Yeah,
Kayla Q
we're on
show.
Facebook.
Joe's
If
like,
you-
I just want to be
There
part
it
of
is.
the live stream.
If you want to tune in to the Facebook page, just go to Buzz Adams Morning Show on Facebook.
I'll
And then
do
when
that.
we're broadcasting, we're live on Facebook, and there's the chat there. You're
I always
more than
share it
welcome to
though.
get involved.
Every single
Yeah,
morning
you
I've been
do, he
sharing it
does.
for the
I'm gonna
past
start
few
so I
months.
can
So.
see,
Hell yeah.
kind of learn from you.
there you go,
There you
man.
go, Joe. There you go.
Get
I'm
some
proud of
in-
you,
get
dude.
some
I'll give you another
influence.
chance for sure.
Initiative.
Yeah, get some influence.
Yes.
Take
How
some
Chris
notes.
did it. Yes.
Is that Tiger Woods fist
Oh
pump?
yeah, he's like.
Get you
All
a
right,
red
guys.
jacket.
So, this is episode 47, Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast featuring Brandon Coates. This was a good one. This was a long
I
one.
love it, dude. This is probably the top one.
But there was a lot of good stuff in here. And like I said, thank you for coming through. With that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Give us a like. YouTube, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, write a review and a rating. And we are...